Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project 24. My name is Adrian. I am your host. Jacob, our co host, is not here today. But we do have a very special guest on today. It's a good buddy of mine, good friend of the show, big Habs fan. Can't go wrong. We got Justin here. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Yeah,
great. I'm doing
you're
great. How
doing
are
great.
you?
Yeah, I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Just surviving what's going on. Just keeping busy with this podcast and watching the Habs and watching all the other sports. So yeah, all's good, man. All's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So how do you think about the Habs? The playoff situation right now. What do you think? What are your predictions going into the playoffs, if you have any?
Oh man, I mean they have that 1 point to clinch, so I think we'll be doing a lot of game watching in the meantime. What's going on around the league right now, and seeing how other teams' results are coming in, and hopefully there might be a couple L's along the way for the other teams, so we can get in there.
Yeah,
But we do need to work hard to earn that point. So
that's right.
the game tomorrow night against Toronto is not going to be easy. They had that really tough start to the game with Primo in the first period, and uh, you know, props to the guys, especially Josh Anderson. They're going to go see him in the intermission, tell him it's okay. You know, we've got this. This is on us, not on you. I mean, I was just a tremendous display of leadership on his behalf. So I still think they should play Allen in those types of games because basically, Toronto is your potential first round matchup, and you don't want to go into that matchup with a guy who's not as experienced. So nothing against Primo. I think Primo's going to be great. I think what Ducharme should have done last game is he should have went with Primo against Ottawa and then Allen against Toronto. That's just my opinion on that, but um, I just think it was just kind of a little bit of a coaching mistake there in that regards. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're going to face Toronto in that first round, and of course, like with you and I living in Ontario, we know what that's going to be like.
Oh God, yeah, that's gonna be nuts, man. I think honestly, I think deep down, like I don't know if this is just like a theory, but I think the Habs do want a playoff series against the Leafs.
Oh,
I think they
I'm
do.
dreaming. I'm dreaming for it. I've been dreaming for this my entire since day one.
Hmm.
I've been watching a lot of Habs Boston series.
Me
I've seen
too.
quite a
Yeah.
few Habs Hurricane series. Tampa. I've never ever have seen uh, Montreal Toronto. I mean, they're saying the last matchup was 79, and that was almost 5 years before I was born. So
Yeah.
just
True. I haven't seen anything, man. Even my whole time watching the hockey growing up, like I think the last real meaningful game they played was April 2007 was that game where the Leafs knocked us out in game 82 and then the
oh
Islanders
man, and
screwed
and
them
then
the
who?
next day.
Yeah, on the poke check and New
Yeah,
Jersey against New
Dumoulin.
Jersey, where New Jersey went with who was it? Scott Clemenson.
Clemenson. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they lost that game. And Marty Brodeur was set to like break a record for most games played in a season, but he's like, no, no, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I remember that was Wade Dubowitz, I think it was.
Yes,
The
that's right.
Islander goalie, and just went out and poke checked the puck. And I remember Jason Blake was on that team, and oh man, that team was actually not bad. Looking at that team on
Yeah.
paper, they weren't that bad. But yeah, I remember that Michael Ryder had a hat trick in that game 82. And one thing that if I could go back in time, if I was able to like change anything in that game, if I was a coach, I probably would have went with Yarrow Halak in that game instead of Cristobal Huey. So I don't know if you recall, Huey coming into that game had not played a single game for what, a while, because he was
Yeah, he
injured.
pulled a hamstring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
He's out for
remember
like 2 months.
and I remember there was quite a few soft goals in that game that he let in that was like very, very questionable. Like probably shots that you or me could have stopped. They were just kind of like just little sliders along the ice. So I remember I remember where I was watching that game too. I was watching that game when I was working in a Bell call center. There was all these TVs around the wall, and I
Uh-huh.
remember all watching the game, and it was a heartbreaker, man. It was just an absolute heartbreaker. And then it was just funny enough that Toronto knocked us out of the playoffs, and then then they get knocked out of the playoffs because the Islanders won. So it was just one of those
Yeah.
crazy games. And I think it ended up being Sheldon Surrey's last game as a Hab, if
It
I
was.
recall, because he had
That's
a
right.
season of 26 goals. It was just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
But
amazing.
but I think like going into the playoffs, I do believe Montreal's core that they have right now, I think can play. They can play that playoff style of hockey. Where Toronto, they got those guys like Thornton, Simmons,
Polino.
sorry,
Polino.
Felino,
Yeah.
like they have those rugged guys now, and I think that's going to make that matchup even more intense. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I think also we got to look at too is who's going to play net for Toronto. Is it going to be Frederick Anderson if he's healthy? Is it going to be Jack Campbell? There's a lot of questions on that, and also you got to look at that decor too, right? Like, is Toronto gonna have Jake Muzzin be that leader on the back end with the that playoff grit? Morgan Riley's he's a heck of a skater, man. I mean he as a Habs fan, like I respect Morgan Riley a lot. I think he's a fantastic offensive defenseman. I would love having him on my back end just for his puck moving ability. He is fantastic to watch. Every single time I seem to watch him play, he just moves that puck so well. And Leaf fans, I see a lot of Leaf fans just, they shit on the guy a little bit, but
Yeah.
it almost sounds very similar to what Habs fans do to what we have, but
Yeah.
like we were talking last night, like our fan bases are very, very similar, but very, very different. As I was mentioning to you last night, like, living in Montreal, you're so caught up in that vortex, in that mecca of Montreal hockey, that when you actually leave and go somewhere else, like where I am in Kingston, there's just so many different fans from, there's fans that cheer for Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Boston, Philly. Like there's fans for all different clubs. So you can get into some really interesting discussions with other hockey fans about hockey and not necessarily about what's going on with your team. You can talk about anything. You can talk about your team and say, like, give your take on what you feel your team is doing, and you could also give your opinion what you think the other people's teams are doing. So it's fun to have that type of I guess to live in a town where you have all those types of different fan bases. So Toronto is definitely a very cocky fan base, whereas as we're saying, we're a very passionate and very hardcore,
intense.
And the thing with the Montreal Canadiens is, like, being in Quebec for 28 years myself, is like they bring a lot of politics into play with the Habs, right? And I think the Habs always try to do right for what they they always want to try and be a little bit politically correct. We know that. And the thing too is sometimes they'll lose somebody who's very capable of doing a job, but like a coaching position for where there's a candidate that should be probably, hired to do the job, but they end up hiring somebody else based off of their
language barrier.
Exactly. And and I get that. And if you look at the history of the Montreal Canadiens, that's exactly what it was, right? They were they were brought into league as the French Canadians, right? And of course they want to kind of carry over that legacy. But yeah.
Sometimes though, like I think about that whole culture, because I was talking to somebody else about it too. Like I don't know if you watch baseball, but like the Yankees have that very like old school, like no facial hair. And with the Habs, it's the whole the French culture. But like they haven't won in years. The Yankees haven't won a World Series in 12 years now, and the Habs haven't won a Stanley Cup. And is it still really a winning culture though? Like, you think
That's
with those
the thing,
kind
right?
of mentalities, like
it might be time to actually look at the tradition of things and change it up, right? You might want to look at the tradition and say, hey, maybe we should starting a new tradition. Maybe keep some of the old ways, but leave it to like picking the best people available to help us carry a new tradition,
Yeah.
you know, I remember, you know, when they made Brian Giunta captain. I remember there was a lot of angry fans on that saying it should have went to
Really?
somebody because he's American. But if
Yeah.
you recall, the fans love Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios shared the sea with Guy Carbonneau, you know. And then we, you know, we could easily talk about the Max Pacioretty thing and the Max Pacioretty being captain over PK and so on. But
Mhm.
I think the whole Montreal thing is that there's a lot of politics in Montreal, whereas in Toronto you don't really have that political side in it. They'll always go with the best candidate for the position. You know, and that's something I give Toronto a lot of credit for.
Mhm.
You know, they'll go with who's best for the spot. Where in Montreal, it's a little different. But I don't know. We'll see what the Habs what they can do in the playoffs if they can clinch. I do believe they will, but the odds are what 99.5% as of yesterday were the odds of them making the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
So
so they're 10 points up on Calgary now, and like they're up on everybody. Yeah, so they're pretty much solidified that last spot.
yeah.
Um, I just I mean, how do you feel about like Caulfield? I mean, Cole Caulfield, right? And that hot
Oh
start
man,
to the. I've been so like excited anxious is the right
you
word to use to see him play for so long. You know what I
you
mean?
know
Since he got drafted.
the cool thing about Cole Caulfield, so I ended up ordering this Budweiser red light. And the day that I got that red light was the day that he scored his first goal in the NHL. So of course
Oh,
I was so excited that the Budweiser red light went off for his first goal. And then the next game against Toronto, the same thing. So it was just one of those like, hey, I was 2 for 2. This is awesome. So it was just maybe
that's
just one of those you know, good luck charms, you know. It's just like
yeah.
I got the red light, so now
Oh yeah.
you gotta light the lamp for me.
Oh
But no,
yeah.
I think this kid's gonna be good. I'm seeing a lot of people drawing comparisons to Marty St. Louis, you know, in that same type of size and guy who can shoot the puck and speed. I did see that he struggled a little bit last game in that first period up against the Galchenyuk line.
Mhm.
I felt that you know, maybe he was kind of caught off guard a little bit because if you remember on that first Galchenyuk goal, Galchenyuk had the stronger stick on Caulfield, leading to that backhand goal that beat Caden Primo. And it just always seems to be when we play Toronto, we always usually either we're scoring on the first shot or they're scoring on the first shot. So it's a very easy it's an easy bet pretty much every time those two play. So I think I think you know, Caulfield's going to add that offensive ability for us, right, on either the left hand or right side. Because when you look at how he's played on the power play, they've had him stationed on both sides, right, both on both sides of the face-off dot. So it just kind of
Mhm.
goes to show that his shot is not just one dimensional. You can use his shot on anywhere on the ice.
Mhm.
Um, I like him playing on that on both sides because it kind of makes the you know the penalty kill more honest, right? Because it gives them more, you know, gives the Habs more options. Um, you know, and I've actually kind of been a little bit surprised, like with how well the Habs power play has been without Weber in the lineup. I think at this point, teams now are kind of well, it's been a long time. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Uh, the teams have always just had a guy, someone shadowing Weber, and when Weber gets his shot off, he just cannot hit the net for anything. I think the approach Petrie has had is one of the analysts on TSN, one of the women on TSN, she described it best as Petrie has what's called a quiet shot, where you get traffic in front of the net and he just lets off a soft wrister, like a little
Yeah.
floater.
It
The
gets
goal
on
is
net.
coming. Whereas with
Mhm.
Weber, it's a loud shot. You know it's coming. And the thing too is like for the amount of time that takes that puck to actually get to Weber for the one timer, the goalie's already there. He's already in
Yeah.
position, very square to it. So the only way that is going to go past the goal is if Weber's accurate And if they can dish that pass a lot faster or in like a shorter range, that way you can catch the goalie moving and have the puck kind of go into the other basically try and catch the goalie in transition, right? In his lateral movement. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Justin. I noticed that too. Actually, you're saying about Petrie. Like, I kind of noticed that's the season two. He's got that quiet shot, you know.
Oh,
Um,
you're cutting out there just a little bit.
oh, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay. All right, buddy. Yeah, like, and I'll say, like, what you're saying about Petrie, like, I noticed that too about, again, he's got that quiet shot at the point. Like, it's not a hard shot, but again,
It's
he
accurate.
just, it's accurate. It's just a soft wrister on net. And he does create a lot of scoring chances in front of the fronts of the nets there. And, yeah, no, man, I'm telling you, I think since Subban's been gone, Petrie, I think, has been Montreal's most consistent defenseman.
Yeah.
Since
He's a good skater too. He's a
Oh,
great skater. He's
dominant.
very smooth, and he
Of a
has
skater.
slowed down since that beginning of the season. But he's a good skater. He moves the puck well. He he's fairly defensively sound too in his own end, and I think he played really well with Kulak. To be honest with you, I'm really surprised that we're not seeing that more. It's unfortunate you don't really see Kulak in the lineup as much as he has been, but like I've felt that Kulak has really given Petrie the ability to play his game. And
I agree.
some of these line shuffles and so on has just been mind-boggling to me. It's like if something's working one game, why are we changing it up? And sometimes maybe it's for matchup purposes, who knows? But they had Romanoff and Edmondson on a line at one point, and
They did, yeah.
like I don't know, it's tough because both Edmondson and Romanoff are both physical defensemen, but I mean, I don't know, it's hard right now because you're missing Weber, and I mean Weber really is the leader of that back end, but you're starting to see more of a resurgence now of the youth leadership coming in, right? Like as we were saying, maybe it's a change of culture that we're looking at, right? Like maybe or change of tradition, right? Like you saw Josh Anderson going over to see Primo when he was not having the greatest game.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of guys stepping up in that leadership role. And as I was telling you last night, you notice every single game the Habs have played with all the leaders out, you've seen a different players wearing the A every single game. So you might see Toffoli one game, Perry another game. I'm really hoping Anderson, Edmondson has worn it. Every single guy I've noticed when they've worn that letter on their jersey, they've just brought their play a little bit higher. And it just feels like, there's that sense of pride that you can tell. So I don't know if and there's that weird rumor going around that Weber might retire at the end of the year. If so,
oh really? I didn't hear that.
I saw some kind of weird report on Twitter saying like there's been a rumor of Weber considering hanging up his skates at the end of the year.
Really?
Again, it's a rumor I read. I don't know how true this is. But if that did happen, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world for Shea Weber, and it's not the worst thing for the Habs, because then you free up some of that space on the cap. You can move some things around in your lineup. You can you can look at a lot of other things. You can name your captain, who we know who would be named captain if Weber were to retire. That's a given. I don't even think we should even. There you go.
I'm sorry, man. I think everyone knows though, regardless.
Oh yeah. And then I think Anderson has really stepped up and proven his leadership abilities. It kind of reminds me how Max Domi was when he started his first season in Montreal, like the pride that he had for wearing that jersey. I'm seeing that with Josh Anderson in a different way. I'd say Domi had a lot more how should I say, undisciplined spunk in his game.
Yeah, he was a little bit more fiery,
Yeah, Anderson's fiery.
But he is, but he's more disciplined.
Yeah, more discipline. But you can tell he stands up for his teammates when it's appropriate. Whereas Domi would just, I don't know, just jump a guy for jumping a guy. Remember his first game, he got suspended for punching Aaron Epblag in the nose. He was what, a 5-game suspension.
I
Hey,
remember that.
let's talk about that for a second. So
Yeah.
Domi got a 5-game suspension for that.
Oh, and Tom Wilson doesn't get any games for what he did earlier this
Whoop.
week. I still.
Oh,
Oh,
you cut out there for a
oh,
second.
oh. Am I good?
Yeah. So what was I saying now?
We were talking about because Domi got suspended.
Oh yeah. So,
and then
so
I
Domi
was
gets
went on the
suspended
Tom
5
Wilson,
games,
yeah.
and then I was preseason, so it wasn't like it was season or anything. But yeah, and then everyone's talking about Tom Wilson, George Peros, Gary Bettman, Rangers getting a $250,000 fine, and Bushnevich gets a 1-game suspension for his high sticking penalty, which the stick didn't hit his face. It was more or less a punch to the face, really.
Yeah.
But like the league saw this coming. Like realistically here, Mantha was kind of like, tapping the back of his leg with, the stick, pretty much trying to get him to go. And, eventually Bushnevich is like, well, I'm going to catch you off guard. I'm just going to sucker punch you. And then, he got a 1-game suspension for it. But
yeah,
I bet you off too, because like, think about like what Tom Wilson gets a $5,000 fine for what he did, punching him like senseless on the ice. And then, he gets a 1-game suspension for that. It's just, I don't know. There's some really, really interesting calls. And, one thing that's really interesting to me with the whole Panarin situation too. If you go back, what is it, 5-6 years when George Peros was on the Habs, he had that fight with Colton Orr, and Colton Orr lost his balance and pulled George Peros down, and George Peros smacked his head on the ice, and he got carried down on a stretcher. So if anybody knows what it's like to have your head smacked off the ice, it's George Peros. So I'm just a little bit surprised by, just the reaction to the whole Panarin getting ragdolled all over the ice. It just, I don't know. It's not the same thing, but the whole smacking your head off the ice, I think that Peros would maybe have a little more understanding on that.
You know what I think too, Justin? Like, and a lot of people have been saying this too. It's because again, Tom Wilson, I guess you would consider an enforcer or a grinder, right? And him being a goon, like Peros being a goon back then, right? He would kind of be a little bit more of an enabler of this kind of behavior, right? Because he kind of used to be the same kind of guy, right?
Yep.
So that's what people are saying. It's more of like, again, it's a subjective thing because again, he experienced he did probably a lot of the same things that, Tom Wilson's done, right? In terms of on the ice, right? So that's why he's kind of a little bit soft on it.
Another thing too is Peros was never a dirty player. He just stuck up for his teammates. So he never actually had any single suspensions in his career too. I remember when he got hired for the head of player safety, everyone was like, "Why are you hiring a goon?" And it's like, well, I mean, realistically, if you look at George Peros' track record, he's never been suspended once. So he was always clean.
He fought the right way
and,
too.
I mean, it's. I definitely would not want to be in that position where, I'd have to make those decisions, because I mean, it's tough to look at some of these plays and say, how is this a suspension? How is this not? Like for instance, Nathan McKinnon tossing his helmet at somebody's head. That was a $5,000 fine. Like, and then the McDavid elbow on K was $5,000. So, like, I don't know.
They pick and choose. I'm telling you, it's the superstar. I've been calling it for years, or like my dad too. It's called the superstar treatment. They'll get off more scot free than, if it, like a guy like a Rafi Torres who gets suspended back then used to get suspended left, right, and center, right? Yep. And then like again, McDavid pretty much did the same thing as Torres, I guess. I don't know if it's really similar, but More or less, it was contact to the head, right? And
Yeah.
McDavid gets 5K, and then Rafi Torres gets half a season. I think honestly, that's the only way Tom Wilson's gonna learn is if he
Yeah.
gets a 40-game suspension like Torres did, and after that, Torres only played a couple more years. He kind of kept his nose clean, and
Same thing
that
with
was
Matt
it.
Cook. If you remember Matt Cook, Matt Cook was the same way. Matt Cook was known as a very dirty player, and then he had those
Oh,
years where he
God.
just wasn't playing dirty, and it was like I remember there was discussions where, hey, should Matt Cook be considered for the Lady Byng Trophy because he
I
only
remember.
had a very low amount of penalty minutes, and like he was playing hockey, he wasn't making any boneheaded decisions, and you always like seeing guys who will turn that stuff around and actually focus on playing hockey. I remember, it's funny. Not that I ever considered Ty Domi a dirty player, but Ty Domi was a guy who used to stand up for guys. But I remember when Domi focused less on fighting and focused more on playing hockey. I remember he had a pretty decent year for the Leafs where he put up,
Mhm.
I don't know the exact figure. I think it was close to like 15 goals. But for a guy of his, for his role, that's incredible.
That's more than you're
Um,
asking for, right?
exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I think when you look at hockey as a whole, right? Like all these guys used to be junior superstars, used to put big numbers in juniors, and they come to the NHL and there's like, well, if you want to go on the ice, you have to fight. And it's like, well, and that's where you're starting to see a lot more guys coming out who are retired now and saying like, look, I'm struggling mentally because of all the the trauma and all that stuff. And
Just the
uh,
pride too. It takes a hit to your ego. Like again, being like you're the go-to player on like your junior team, and then again you go to the NHL, and you're like, yeah, man. If you want to continue this league, you got to punch faces for a living, or
it's
you got to play bottom 6 minutes instead of being on the top six, scoring 50 goals a
yeah,
year, kind of thing, right? It's
like
hard on your mind.
oh, exactly. Like look at Andrew Shaw. I am actually really happy for Andrew Shaw that he's listened to his doctors, put his health first. Like he was what passed up in the draft twice. He was undrafted, and he came up kind of with that gritty sandpaper, drop the mitts, stand up for your teammates kind of mentality. But he kind of was a new generational type of scrappy player, right? He was a guy who used to do it all, right? Like he used to score goals, set up goals, just come up clutch and stand up for guys. Didn't matter how big or small they were, he would stand up for you, and that's what I liked about Andrew Shaw. Uh,
Yeah, I love
you know,
Shazi.
and it's unfortunate that he had to retire so young, but he's got two kids now, he's got his family, and that's definitely more important than hockey, and I really hope he has a good retirement
Yeah,
with
me
everything.
too.
Hopefully we see him on Habs tonight because I would love to.
Oh,
I'd love to see Shazi on there.
shout out to the boys at Habs tonight, by the way. We love your show. Justin and I are big fans of the show, as you know. So want to give you guys a quick shout out. And
They're
yeah,
pretty awesome.
oh, I love that show. But I want to say one more thing about Shaw, actually. But the first time I saw Andrew Shaw play, I didn't really hear much of him before, right? Because obviously I didn't really watch much of the Western games, right, when I was younger. But it was the playoff series in 2012, it was the Coyotes and Blackhawks, great series. And the first time the first thing I saw him do was when he ran over Mike Smith, just completely bulldozed him, and I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, well, Mike Smith is very, very. And how did Mike Smith reply with that? What did he? Did he
He
give
was
him a
not
blow
happy.
up? Oh,
Think
Mike
he
Smith,
did.
he's got a temper, eh? It's funny. So around here in Kingston, so Mike
Mhm,
Smith's from Kingston here,
mhm.
and so where he actually lives is about 20 minutes away from here in a town called Verona. So when my wife and I were dating earlier on, 8 years ago, we were heading over to Verona, and I'm like, hey, this is where Mike Smith is from. And I'm like, imagine there's a sign that says, welcome to Verona, home of NHL goalie Mike Smith. And she's like, why would they have that? There's no way that's there. So we're in the car and we're turning around the corner. There's this big sign. Welcome to Verona, home of NHL goalie Mike Smith. I didn't know that, but it was just a weird prediction.
That's awesome.
Um, hey, so I could ask you, have you ever had it happen to you where you're watching a game live or on TV and you say something? Let's say you make a really bold prediction and
Yeah.
it ends up happening like a couple moments later.
Oh, that's a good question. I think it has. Um, fuck. Oh man, I know it has happened to me. Oh, I gotta remember if I think I called it the something the other week during one of the Habs games. Oh, okay. This is like from a long time ago though. But
Yep.
okay, I remember this now. So 2014 Stanley Cup Finals, Kings and Rangers. On Facebook, when I was using Facebook back then, I put my overtime predictions. I think it was game one went to overtime, if I'm correct. And I picked for LA, I picked Justin Williams. And
Yep.
I don't know who I picked for the Rangers. I don't remember. It might have been like Gabrick or one of these guys. But yeah, and then again, 5 minutes later, Justin Williams scores. I'm like, holy shit, I called it.
So
Yeah.
crazy story about Justin Williams. So
Yeah, I
my
like him.
sister's a nurse, and she ended up working with Justin Williams's sister.
Oh, no way.
So it was really cool. So Justin Williams got my sister some tickets for her and my nephew to go see a game, and then after the game, they had a meet and greet with some of the Capitals players. So they got to meet Justin Williams, Ov, just who was it? Andre Barakovsky.
Oh,
So
dude.
it's actually it's cool. Barakovsky scored the game-winning goal that game, and he actually gave my nephew his stick and signed it.
No way.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So it's hanging in his room now. But the thing with the stick was it was had a little crack in it and whatever. So it's you can't use it
Yeah.
again. But it was just the whole gesture was really cool. So he has a it's a CCM stick or whatever, and it's cool. Like it was just a really cool experience for him.
That's
So he's
amazing.
got Ov signed one of his hockey cards for him. Like Ov was in a bit of a rush, so he only like signed one thing for him. But Justin Williams, he signed a few hockey cards. I gave my sister an 8x10 of him with the cup in LA. So
Oh, yeah.
he signed that for her. So I have a 8x10 of Justin Williams with the cup in LA, and yeah, so that was kind of cool. So going back to like making the weird predictions and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is going back to 2011. Do you recall the game where Max Pacioretty knocked out Chris Letang? and then
Yes.
Letang came back in overtime and won it.
Yes, I do remember
So
that very fondly, actually.
so I was at that game,
Oh, really?
and I was at that game with one of my friends, Victoria, and so we're sitting up. We weren't in the Molson Egg zone. We were at like just below that. The Molson Egg zone is considered like the very, very, very top, but we were just below. So we were like practically uh, looking at almost like at the very bottom of that high level there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so anyway, I turned to her and the play's going on, and I'm like, what I'm really curious about? I'm really curious. Do the referees wear like any protective equipment in case they get hit by a puck? And I'm not even joking. About 4 seconds later, after I said that, I said it out loud too. The referee got hit by the puck on a dump in,
Oh my
and,
God.
and the people in front of me and the people behind me just kind of like did you just say that? Like that is so funny. So to this day, it was just one of those moments where it's like, yeah, that actually just happened. So
Dude, that's amazing.
but but that game though, I out of a lot of games I've seen Pricey play in like live, that game in particular, I had never seen him so pissed off. Because I remember that post game scrum, he was so mad. I remember he said I had the fucking puck in my glove, and I remember the ref didn't blow it dead, and he
Yeah,
was
dude.
off the goalpost, and
I do remember that now. That I remember. Oh, you know what I remember from that game now. So yeah, he held onto the puck, and they were still like jamming at it, and
yeah.
the ref didn't blow the whistle, and the whole team was pissed. And I remember just seeing Peter Budaj, backup goalie at the time, just sitting on the bench, wearing his cap and everything, and his catcher. He's like screaming at the ref from the bench, and like it was just It was chaos. It was chaos, man.
I,
I
and
was my brother and I were so fucking mad. Like
oh,
I was like, what the fuck happened?
and not just that. Also, Pacioretty got like a nasty suspension for that. Was a nasty hit. I
It
remember
was a
like
bad
he
hit.
crossed
Yeah.
the line, and I don't remember how many games he got, but I remember it was nasty. I also got to go to the game that started the whole Chera Pacioretty fiasco. Now,
Oh, really?
I was at the first one, so it wasn't the one where he got knocked into the, into the glass there, into the
Stanchion?
stank. Yeah, it was the game before that led up to that. So it was the game where like the Habs were trailing the Bruins. I don't know why I said the Rangers. Were trailing the Bruins 1-0 late in the third period. Was it 1-0 or was it 2-0? I just remember the Habs ended up coming back. So what happened was the Habs pulled Carey Price in favor of the extra attacker, and this is when we had Scott Gomez. And I don't know what it is, but I've been to a bunch of games where Scott Gomez scored, and I don't know exactly how that happens. But believe it or not, Scott Gomez scored the tying goal in the final minute of the game on a very, very weak shot. Then the game goes to overtime, and that's the one where Pacioretty scores the winning goal and
He
gives
shoved
Chera
him.
celebrating,
Yeah.
and Chera gets this, and then you see Gomez going right up to Chera and just barking in his face.
Yeah.
And he's like a little chihuahua. And then the next game, we know what happened, right? That was the
Yeah.
unfortunate event of Pacioretty's broken neck there.
That was
Um,
scary.
but man,
Still
that
to
was a
this day.
fun game to be at. I remember Tim Thomas was in net for Boston. Man, he was good. Tim Thomas was such a good goalie. Just unfortunately, there's too many people who who tried to get his political point of view
Yeah,
across.
they tried to cancel
Um,
him.
oh, the guy
Yeah.
play hockey. Like just leave whatever his political beliefs are, like in his personal life, and then just let the guy play hockey.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
and same thing with Montreal. We should just let the guys play hockey. Who cares if just let them play hockey. That's
Yeah.
what we love, right?
That's why
Um,
we watch the games, right? We just kind of get
right?
away from that stuff. Yeah. That's all.
Exactly.
That's why I watched it. Yeah.
The one thing I will say that I love about hockey is it brings people together in so many different ways, right? It brings us fans together from all different parts. You meet like hockey for me has been the gift that always gives. I've met so many people. I've gained so many friendships through just being a fan of the game or playing the game, and it teaches you a lot about respect for other people, and I mean in some cases for some fans it teaches a lot about disrespect in a unfortunately, because for myself, as I was talking to you yesterday, we you know I've just learned to for me I really truly believe that we shouldn't be putting people down you know for whatever team they cheer for, right? They're hockey fans just like us. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be that little bit of cockiness or but I've noticed Twitter can be a very toxic place for a lot of people where they just
Oh
put
yeah.
people down in a world right now where people are struggling mentally and everything. Like, why do people get off on bring people down for what hockey team they cheer for, or who their favorite hockey player is? Like, who cares if they like Austin Matthews, or who cares if they like McDavid? They like hockey. Who cares? We're all in the same
Yeah.
boat. We love the sport. And we're gonna grow up more if there's more people who are gonna be all together and just appreciate what we have going on.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, maybe I'm getting a little bit carried away here, but
No, not at all, buddy. No, I agree. I was gonna say too, like, I don't like adding on to that because again, it's for the teams you like or the certain players you like. I don't like it too. I try not to like beat on someone like there are some fans like in the Habs Twitter community that do get like really get bullied for like posting like a certain opinion they have
yep,
towards like a player. I think I saw one guy yesterday. said like they should trade Josh Anderson at the end of the season because his contract's going to be bad in a couple of years, in like 3-4 years. And I was like, and I saw all these people like ripping on him, and like I was like, yeah, I don't agree with it. And like I quote, like I tweeted to him, I was like, yeah, like I don't totally agree with this, but like, you know, I kind of have more of an objective take on it. Like I understand the long term possibly with the contract, but I was like, I still don't think that's like, you know, as a player like him who's what personally like a player like Josh Anderson is what this team has been missing for
That
God
powerful.
knows how long, right?
And then look on the flip side of that statement. I saw some Toronto Maple Leafs fans on Twitter saying that they were going on Habs fan pages and and posting stuff like that to get a rise out of the fans.
Oh God,
Posing
yeah.
as Montreal fans.
Gaslighting.
Yeah. So and it's funny because like when you said the whole Josh Anderson getting traded to him, like that's what one of the things I read on Twitter was, and it was just one of those like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, one of it was Josh Anderson. I think somebody else said like trade Cole Caulfield, or you know, like you're gonna get the best value for him right now, or you know,
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
it was silly, or trade Toffoli, or you know, like man, Toffoli's deal is just insane.
He's
Like what a
underpaid, I
bargain.
think.
Oh, 100%. The guy is just about to put up 30 in a shortened season. He also missed time to injury. You know, the guy is what, third, fourth in the NHL right now in
Yep.
goals. I mean, Montreal has not had a guy in
See
that
my phone
goal.
case?
There you go.
Phone case, you like that,
There
eh?
you go.
Yeah, buddy.
Toffoli's half Italian, right?
I think he is, yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
he's a
Montreal,
paisan. There you go.
Montreal I'll give credit. Montreal has had a pretty decent history with you know having some Italian background in their roster, right? Like they had what, Sergio Momesso. They had a long time ago. They
Di
had
Pietro.
uh, yeah, Tony D'Agostino. They had D'Agostini,
Yeah, Pat
Pacioretty.
D'Agostini.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we
know,
got all the paisans representing Montreal. There you
you
go.
know, way to look at it. And that's kind of the cool thing though, is like Montreal, it's such a diverse city, right? It's
It is.
that's the beauty of Montreal, right? You get people from all over the place. And when you and the thing too is like when you look at the Habs, you gotta have people from all over the place on that team. It's just only fitting, right? Like it's probably one of the most diverse cities in Canada, you know,
It
and
is.
you know, to have all those types of different backgrounds on a team, it's great to see, you know, like I love seeing Quebecois on the team. I love seeing Quebecois on the team doing well, but I wouldn't put a roster spot for a Quebecois player who's not, you know, who just won't really feel the need. You know what I mean? It's just I love Jonathan Drouin. I think this season in particular, like he's not scoring goals, but you know what he's doing? He's setting them up. He's also been a lot more defensively sound, a lot more defensively responsible, and you know he skates so well. And you know I'll say this about Jonathan Drouin. I would understand if fans were really upset if he wasn't putting the work in, but you saw every single game he was trying so
He's
hard.
pushing. Yeah.
It's not like an Alex Galchenyuk situation where Galchenyuk would just kind of stand in that spot to wait for a one timer, you know, to wait for a goal to like a shot to come to him.
Mm-hmm.
See Drouin constantly trying to drive to the net and shooting the puck more. You can tell he was trying, and he
Getting
still
more involved in the play and
exactly.
yeah.
I saw that, and then when I saw him when he took the leave, it was disappointing, and you know um it really made me relate to, you know, if he's taking time away from hockey, if it's due to mental health, I can relate to it. You know, it's just, you know, I was telling you yesterday, I took a month off work to take care of myself, and it's amazing what it did for me. I reset my mind. I managed to get like more in a positive mindset, and I just became a better me because of it. And so when I saw Jonathan Drouin do that, it was just, you know, I was like, good for him. You know, like you see a lot of these Twitter warriors out there who are constantly putting people down, who are, you know, in a difficult place, saying like they should be immune to mental health because they have a fat wallet. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
No, not at
Not at all.
all.
There's human beings, and you got to remember the hockey players are also there's a human aspect that's behind that's behind all this, right? And we have to remember that. And behind, other than them being hockey players, they're human beings with families and kids, and we don't know what's going on after hockey, right? And people have to realize that.
I agree. And like I think I said to you before too, Justin. He since he's been with this team, like I've noticed just like the abuse he just on Twitter alone,
Oh,
the abuse he's gotten in like for I got because I've had Twitter before too and like stuff like that. But again for years I've seen like Instagram too, like you name it, like the social media abuse is just you like you can have a thick skin, but like when you have like thousands of people, sometimes thousands of people, like in a season, just telling you that you fucking suck and you're like you're an idiot and you're shit and just like that's gonna take a toll on you just mentally, you know.
oh,
Like it doesn't
absolutely.
matter how, like you said, it just doesn't matter how much money you make. It'll take a toll on you, you know. It's
You know,
sad.
it's one of those things too, where it's like, you just, I mean, it's obvious it's easier said than done, but when it comes to that, just gotta block out the noise. Something I've learned is if I ever come across like a Twitter troll or whatever, like I was saying, just kill them with kindness. Just basically just be the better person, be the bigger person, don't take it to heart. Like I was talking about that guy who was bashing me for my tattoo, saying, "Oh, Carey Price is not a hockey hero," and it's just like if you got a tattoo of Plecky or Markey, and it's like, well, no, take a step back here. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
It's my tattoo, so I mean, I like it. That's really all that matters. And I mean, I don't care what your opinion on Carey Price is. I love Carey Price. I think he's fantastic. Him and Patrick Waugh are my two favorites. I mean, in fact, I'm going to be getting a Patrick Waugh one to go with the Carey Price one. So,
Ooh.
so
Are you gonna do a half sleeve or
I'm
what are
not
you
sure
planning,
yet.
buddy?
I'm not
Oh,
sure
okay.
yet. So I'm going to be talking to my artist Jesse Locke in Belleville. He's going to be probably doing the work. I'm going to be probably doing another black and white feature in there because I find the black and white just last longer, whereas the colored ones they kind of tend to fade a little more, and that's
Yeah, I agree.
so he's really stoked to work on it. I've already told him like I want him to just we want to do that one. I don't know if I'm going to do the wink or not. I'm contemplating if I want to do the Patrick Wall wink because I think that
Oh,
would be
that
kind of
would be
iconic. I know. I think it would be
that would be
iconic if I
awesome.
got that.
Yeah.
So I don't
Dude.
know. It's tricky, right? Because like I don't know. There's so many different wall poses you can go with, right? Like there's one that I saw that was fairly decent where it's almost like he's looking back over his shoulder kind of thing. You've probably seen that pose before. That one's pretty slick too. And
There's the one
then
of him holding the cup in
oh
'93. Yeah.
oh man, there's so many you can do. But I'm thinking I'd probably do the wink just because the wink is so iconic for that for me anyway. It's kind of a big part of my childhood and getting into hockey too was seeing that while I was at my grandparents, during that '93 Cup run. Um, I don't know. It's just one of those things where like you got to put a lot of thought into like a tattoo like that. I
I
know
agree.
the Carey Price one, I did put a lot of thought into it, and again, I don't care what people think about it. Like, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me like, hey, that's cool. I really like it. Dale Weiss really liked it. I remember when he saw it on the show and he just said like, they wanted to get a full screen of it because they thought it was so cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's awesome. Shout out
so
to Weiser, by the way.
yeah,
Give him a
Weiser,
shout out.
he's such a good guy.
Yeah, I love Weiser, man. He's one of a kind. He's just so like just such a genuine person, you know. You can
Oh,
tell he cares about like the fans
oh
and
yeah.
yeah, no, like he really
And
cares about us, you know, as hockey
oh
fans,
man,
happy
I
fans.
remember watching the episode of 24 CH, the time where he got acquired by the Habs for Rafael Diaz, and it's funny too because remember Glenn Healy on Hockey Night in Canada. I remember Dale Weiss scored a goal or whatever, and they're like, the Montreal Canadiens traded Cameron Diaz for this guy, and I'm thinking, Oh my God, Glenn Healy. There's a reason why he's not on Hockey Night in Canada anymore.
Yeah, that's the reason why he doesn't have a job anymore.
No, right? But I remember watching that episode. I remember turning to my wife at the time. I was like, "Oh, who is this guy?" Because I'd never heard, like never really heard of Dale Weiss before. And then he instantly became a fan favorite. He did everything right, like killed penalties. He moved. He played pretty much throughout the lineup. And I think for myself, the biggest memories for me was him. Like the very first big memory was that Tampa Bay game one goal with Danny Briere behind the net, and then he just kind of feeds that blind backhand right to Dale. You have Andreas Limbach, the goalie at the time for Tampa, because he was filling in for Ben Bishop, and he just kind of sneaks it under his arm, right? And I just remember him celebrating, getting down on one knee, and just doing his whole like celebration with PK there, and it was exciting. And then who could forget the Boston series? Yeah. My goodness, that was such a good series. The whole like chest bumping with going back with Lucic and I'm gonna fucking kill you in the lineup. Oh man, it's funny. It's like the two goals that I watch, and I'll watch every often. Every time I watch it, they give me chills. The PK Subban goal where Lars Eller just feeds him the pass out of the
breakaway goal.
Oh, on Tuukka Rask. And then there's the Dale goal. That happened in the same game. And I watched both those goals, and to this day, I still get goosebumps watching them. I mean, I think the reason why you get the goosebumps is like you think like, man, only if I was in the building for that. Like, can you imagine Cole Caulfield scoring a goal and the Bell Center being full of 21,273 in there? The roof would just go would just blow off the place.
I'm telling you, if Caulfield's if the goal last week, the overtime winners, if there was fans in the stadium for that, I'm telling you, like literally the roof would have came off the building, just like it would have off. Oh, buddy, I'm telling you. Oh. I was going crazy last week too. My dad and I we've been watching because my dad and I watch a lot of the games together, and yeah, just like the other day we saw Caulfield score the goal on Monday, and we were like, holy shit. I was like, holy fuck, Dad, did you see that?
It's crazy because it really caught me by surprise too. Like my Budweiser red light went off five seconds before he scored. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I see him with the puck. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. Right? So it was just exciting because like I said, the first couple of games I had my Budweiser red light, Caulfield lit up the lamp for me. So I was happy about that.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, man, the Habs this year, the Habs have just. I'm kind of going all over the place here because
buddy, this is all good, buddy.
Hockey's always one of those topics where you can kind of go all different directions. It's going back to like our current discussion on the Habs. Like, man, the one thing that I've said is the most consistency I've seen on this team is the inconsistency. So like, I think the biggest struggle that they're facing right now is finding their identity and how they're playing with that, what kind of game they're going to play every game, right? Because that's been the biggest struggle I've seen them with. And, it's frustrating to watch as a fan, but you also like to see like some of the other guys who like to step it up a little bit. Like Jake Evans, I've seen him step it up quite a bit, and he's fun to watch. He's playing.
He's fantastic.
You see, he's getting in that groove right now where he's getting comfortable. He's really starting to have that little bit of an impact there, especially on the penalty kill. I think he's a very good penalty killer. He always seems to be doing the right things. And again, I'm prior to this year, I was never a big fan of Corey Perry. And it's true what they say.
Me too, actually.
But like this year in particular, you're not seeing the Corey Perry we're used to seeing that you'd see in Anaheim. We're seeing a completely different Corey Perry. You can tell he's playing with a lot more discipline. He's not doing really so many of the cheap shots. He's doing having a little more of the antics. Remember which goalie was it where he had the puck in his blocker and he tried to take it out with his glove? Remember that?
Oh
I don't
man,
know who the
was it
goalie
Mike
was.
Smith?
Uh, was it Mike
I don't
Smith?
remember.
I don't.
I remember him doing that, like being a troll, but like, fuck, I
Maybe it
can't
was
remember
David.
who
I
it
think it was
was.
David Riddick.
Oh,
Is it
maybe in
David Riddick?
Calgary. Yeah, maybe in
When he was in
Calgary.
Calgary, I think.
Yeah,
I could be
I think
wrong,
so.
but I just remember it, and I was just like, that was pretty funny. Uh, but you could even see that he was having a chuckle with the goalie afterwards, like like the goalie didn't appreciate it. Then the whistle when it was commercial break, and you saw them having a laugh together. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I think he was just acting on pure instinct there.
Mhm.
But I've been a very big fan of Perry's this year. I just again I like what he's brought to the table this year in terms of he's not fast, but those hands he has in close are absolutely lethal. The way he sets up guys, like even last night when he set up Cole Caulfield, it was just a thing of beauty. He just knows what to do with the puck. He's a very smart hockey player.
Mhm.
And you can tell he's really engaged in the game. Like I would love to see Montreal bring him back for one more year to see how it rides out. Like try again with like what he's making now. See if he'd be happy with that because he it's clear he loves playing hockey. I think this is a different situation than what we were having last year with Kovalchuk. It's like I know a lot of fans fell in love with Kovalchuk, but
Oh
Kovalchuk
yeah, I did too.
Kovalchuk was very, very streaky. Whereas I feel with Perry, you're getting a well-rounded player. You're not getting a one-dimensional player. You're getting somebody who brings leadership to the team, a guy who can, occasionally score goals, but he's also setting up goals, getting in front of the net. He's doing a lot of good things. Whereas with Kovalchuk, I felt like he was more of a one-dimensional player, a guy just who was able to snipe the puck. Uh,
Yeah. He's
I,
always been a very one-dimensional player, though.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He always has been. That's what
But
his problem
I
was in
think,
Atlanta.
sorry?
That was what his problem was in Atlanta. Like you look at
Yeah,
his like
yeah. And,
career
and
plus minus, it's crazy. It's like in the negative like
oh,
50s.
oh yeah, it's not good. It's not
Yeah.
good. Kind of reminds me of Ovechkin that year. They had the 132 points or whatever it was there, and Ovechkin
Yeah.
had crazy numbers, and he was, he's still, you'd be in the minus, like I mean, I'm probably wrong on the plus minus on that season, but I remember there was a season he put up over 50, and he was still like a minus 50 or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's
How
true
is that
because
possible?
he was scoring all the power because all he was doing was scoring power play goals and they don't
That's
count to plus minus, right?
That's true.
So
Yeah, so you're standing. He's just
yeah.
basically standing in his office right there, which
Yeah.
was probably Brett Hall's office before.
Yes,
Brett
sir.
Hall was very known for that exact spot too. But that's just a very famous spot for a lot of guys who have a hard slap shot, really, or a one timer. But yeah, I mean, man, the playoffs this year, it's gonna be interesting because if you have those five guys back in the lineup, it's been said that we don't have our timetable for Carey Price yet, so that's a little bit worrisome. But I'm no psychic, but a part of me feels like the Habs are pushing this until the playoffs to bring him back so he's well rested,
I have a
almost like what
feeling.
they had, almost like in what they did in the bubble. Because when he came back in the bubble last year, he was lights out. And if you recall, in that series against the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers did not beat the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Montreal Canadiens. If you recall, there was
Yeah.
there was a large amount of goals that went off of our own players' skates, gloves.
Hitting
There was,
posts.
there was more own goals on us than there was that Philly scored on us. So it was
Mhm.
really hard to say that Carey Price played terrible and Carter Hart completely outplayed us. It was totally not the case. It was more so of a we beat ourselves. Plain
Yeah.
simple. Um,
Carter Hart was great in that series though too.
he
So
was.
yeah.
He was.
Yeah. But he's playing
There's
so
some
bad
games though
now.
where you can tell is like he was not on, and then there was that game where Suzuki comes over and just gives him a little tap on the helmet,
Oh, that was so funny.
and
Yeah, oh my god.
makes you wonder if there's going to be any retribution for that down the road, right? Because
Oh, it might be. Oh
there
yeah.
might be. I know fans in Philly won't forget that. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, they
Uh,
don't forget anything, those
oh
guys.
man, Philadelphia is just it's interesting. I'm
Yeah.
in football. I cheer for the Eagles, but like, you know, Philadelphia has been known to throw snowballs at Santa Claus, or like Dale Weiss said on one of his shows. They gave out these things to celebrate one of the Flyers, well, the Flyers owner who passed away. I don't remember what it was. It might have been a bracelet or something, and they ended up tossing him on the ice or whatever and booed him. So it was just only in Philly. But I don't know. The whole Montreal Canadiens situation right now with their coaching staff, it's a big question mark. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. Like
Bergevin says he believes in him though. He says since they made the coaching change, he said Ducharme's the guy. So
it's his job to lose, pretty much.
Yeah,
and like right now, it almost feels like Ducharme's in basically the only position he's in right now is to fail right now. If you think about it, like you have 5 of your regulars out, 6. Well, actually, yeah, 5 because Tatar just came back, right? So
yes, that's right.
You gain 1, you lose 1. And it's from the same line too. So now the thing is, who do you replace Deneau with?
Like currently, or like in the roster right now, or like
in the roster? Okay. Yeah, in the roster right now. Like
I would say Jake Evans. I think he's ready. He's ready.
Move him up, put him up there with Tatar and Caulfield and see what happens. Or maybe you put slide Nick Suzuki in there, and then you put Evans in that, like in the second, third, depending on how he does. It might be one of those like, we'll try it here. If this doesn't work, we'll move you down here. But I think you'd probably look between Evans and Suzuki for that spot. But I'd love to see KK and Caulfield on a line. There's been a lot of talk of that. Caulfield, KK, even put Suzuki in the mix there. Could you imagine? That'd be like the youth line.
Dude, I'm telling you, Caulfield. Fans have been wanting KK and Caulfield, or Suzuki and Caulfield.
Oh,
do you want to hear a hot take though? Do you want to hear a hot take?
Sure.
Do you want to hear? Yeah, I don't know if fans agree with this, but I'm okay with letting go of Deneau and Jake Evans replacing him on that.
If Deneau's going to be outrageous with his contract like negotiations, I'd be totally on board with that too. It's just, Deneau's been a good two-way player, but there's going to come a price with it, right? And if the price is too high of an asking, too high of an asking price, you might want to turn to somebody who can be, as effective in that position, at a lower cost. And it's the business of hockey, right? You always have to try and find something that's going to replace what you currently have at a lower cost. Just like doing business, right? It is what it is. I'm really curious to see what the Habs do with the expansion draft. Who's gonna leave, who's gonna stay,
who they're gonna protect.
Everyone's saying Jake Allen's gonna go. Who knows? You got to think too. The Kraken have 2 days ahead of the agency signing to sign players, and who knows? Maybe they know something that maybe they have a strategy. Maybe they've talked with the team about saying, hey, you're going to be re-signing this guy, because if not, we're gonna sign him, we're gonna sign him, because there's a lot of good potential free agent goalies. You got Tuukka Rask, you got Yaroslav Halak, Freddie Anderson's on there. I think John Gibson's on there. I'm not exactly.
Oh, really?
I think I could be a lot. That. I'm just going based off of possible memory here, but the list is fairly large. James Reimer, I think, is.
Oh, wow, that's not a bad option.
Nothing. You can easily get a good number 2 goalie in just one of those.
Oh yeah.
The thing is Tuukka Rask going to stay in Boston?
I've been hearing rumors about him retiring since the bubble started.
Yeah.
That he just is not getting into the games. He's been one of the few athletes in North America that have openly said I hate this bubble shit. This bubble sports is it's bullshit. So he's been one of the few guys. So I've been hearing he might retire. It was last year though. Maybe things have changed. A lot can change in a couple of months, right?
Oh
But
yeah, and I think the Bruins did a solid couple of years ago extending Halak for those 2 years, right? So Halak's done the job no matter where he's gone.
oh yeah,
Remember the World Cup of hockey, how dominant he was in that World Cup of hockey. Like they almost beat Canada, or at least almost tied them in that series in the finals. Oddly, it's Carey Price versus Zero Halak, and we probably have all those fans out there who are like, oh, if Carey Price loses, means we should have
oh
kept Halak.
fuck. God, I think I fucking remember that. Oh my God. I'm telling you, there are still, dude, there is
Oh,
still Hab fans that would rather have Halak than Price. I've seen it on the internet. I'm like,
100%.
how can you still like, I mean, like Halak is good, but like he's a backup right now. He's
He's
a fringe starter. How can you
he's
even
he's
fucking
never had
compare?
consist he has had injury problems. He's never had like large amount of starts in his career. Like he did
Yeah.
like a fair amount in St. Louis, but like I think that was maybe like a year, maybe he had like a lot of starts, and then like after that, he's just kind of always been like a 1A, 1B option, right?
Yeah.
But here's a hot take.
Yeah.
If
I want to
Seattle takes Jake Allen, would Montreal consider going after signing Euro Halak on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal as a backup?
Ooh,
Could you
that's
imagine?
not a bad thought.
Could you imagine the conspiracy that goes around on that? Like, oh, Carey's sliding. Let's get Halak in there. Get Halak
Oh
magic.
fuck! Imagine if like I hope not. This doesn't happen, but imagine Carey. I hope this doesn't happen. Maybe he starts the year again next year and he still struggles, and like Halak's on the bench and just recreating history. Oh my
Oh, but
god!
apparently him and Carey were good buddies on the
Oh
team
yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh yeah,
they
they were
never had
always
any.
close.
They never had any issues or anything. It
No,
was
they
just
supported each other. It was
just
just
it's the fan base that makes something out of nothing too, right? But I would personally would welcome the whole having Eero Halak back in Montreal. I would. He's been so consistent over his career in terms of being that guy you can rely on and steal some games for you when you need to as a number 2 or a 1B situation,
French starter. Yeah,
splitting workloads. We were hoping to get something like that out of Keith Kincaid last year, and we know how that ended.
yeah.
But I think Jake Allen has probably been our best backup goalie that we've had since arguably, I mean, I'd say El Montoya, but
Peter Budaj.
Peter Budaj, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
he
gonna
was
say
good.
El Montoya, but if he didn't have that 10-0 loss to Columbus that time, I mean, I'd be like, yeah, Montoya was okay. Like he was okay, but Peter Budaj
Yeah,
was
he got
probably
the
our
job done. I
Budaj was just one of those guys that just came in
he just
and
battled.
got the job done. And also, I don't know if you remember, he almost got in a fight with Marc-Andre Fleury, remember?
Yeah, I remember
And there was
that.
a rumor saying he knew kung fu or
Ooh,
something.
yeah, he was like a
And
martial arts specialist.
then like he was like someone asked him in a media scrum, and he's like, "So is it true you know martial arts?" And he's like, "What? No, who told you that?" Got a good laugh out of that.
Dude, he was do you remember the it was the after the Olympics, I think Price got injured for the month
Yes,
and he stepped in and he played
he
fantastic.
played
I
very well.
remember there was a game against Boston and he like just
Oh yeah,
absolutely stood on his head and I
I
was like,
remember
wow,
that.
one of the best regular season games I've ever seen. It was just
Yeah,
it felt like such a playoff vibe and he
yeah.
played so fucking good. I was like, wow. You know,
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, it was phenomenal.
It's unfortunate that he didn't get to play in that playoff run. I'm really curious to see what I'm really curious what could have happened. Again, I don't like to live in the what ifs, but that's kind of the exception for the rule for that one season. Is like I wonder what would happen if we had started Peter Budaj over Dustin Tokarski in
Tokarski.
that series. And Tokarski played great. He didn't play poorly by any means. It's just the team plays with a different level of confidence with
In the
Penn
name of
and
Carey
right?
Price.
So I don't know if they just lack confidence in Peter Budaj or they just were riding on the younger guy, expecting to maybe have a miracle come out. Right? You
I
just don't.
Yeah, I think
Going on a hunch. Who
Tarian.
knows?
I think Tarian just didn't. From what people were assuming, like Tarian didn't trust Budai anymore,
That's
and I think in that offseason, I think Budai asked for a trade because of what happened in the playoffs. And then he ended up going to Winnipeg, kind of just.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who did we get? We just got a draft pick in return, did we not?
Oh, I think we got Eric Tangradi. You remember him?
Who?
All right, we're good now. Yeah,
There we go.
so I know I was saying like Tyrion, it seemed like he lost confidence in him. He didn't trust him anymore. So yeah, I felt bad for Boods, like he was such a
He was
like good like leader
a
and
good
just
teammate too.
yeah, great teammate, just got the job done. And that's what I mean. Like I'm gonna ask you this question in a second, but like I did not like Tyrion like at all on this team. The way he
No.
treated certain players, like even on the Habs Tonight show
Yep.
the other night when
Okay.
PA Parental was on the show, and again, like we see and PA were saying like how again like one night, you get 20 minutes a night almost playing on the top line, we see would or PA would, and then the next night you'd be on the fucking fourth line without any like
Yeah.
any reason. Like then it just then you start getting like in your mind you're thinking like, am I playing bad? Like, am I playing good? Is he trying to send a message like for me to
Yep.
fucking let's get it going? Like it's just you can't be coaching players like that. You got to be
Oh,
direct. You got to tell them like,
it's
hey,
it's it's almost like I always found like when watching those 24 CHs that Tyrion was almost a little bit condescending in his coaching sessions, like one on
oh, he was
one.
a prick. Yeah,
Like if you remember
he
how he used to
screamed at
treat
Subban.
like how he would talk to PK, and PK is like a Norris winning defenseman, and you're I mean, not to say PK is not coachable. It's not the case at all. PK would always
He
listen.
was
It's
respectful. Yeah.
just how you're talking to your player. You're talking to them like they're stupid and that like, they're making
Mhm.
mistakes, but there's a way to communicate to someone that they're doing something wrong without screaming in their face and calling them a moron.
Yeah.
um and that was pretty like to me that I felt that was a little bit toxic really. And I mean, we also had JJ Daniel on the roster too, and he just for the record too here, he actually just got fired from his junior team that he was coaching too. So
I saw that.
yeah, but and look out, Montreal fans. JJ Daniel's on the market for a head coaching job.
Oh fuck, we better. Oh my god, he was bad too. Him and
I
Terry.
was not a big fan of JJ Daniel.
No.
Um, oh man, I know.
I was I was gonna say sorry. I'm quick talk, kind of continuing on with like the Terry and with the 24 CH thing. I remember
Yeah,
my brother and I were watching one episode, and this caused a stir on Twitter at the time because he was like, again, he was just maligning PK, and he's like showing him the play. He's like, you see what you're doing there? He's like because I guess maybe he was kind of dancing around with the puck too much and he caused a turnover. He's like, what the fuck do you think this is? Do you think this is fucking summer hockey or something where you fucking around with the puck? I was like, what the hell? I was like, and fans were like, is this how he talks to like his players? And people were starting to bring up the concern like that he hasn't changed like since his last time in Pittsburgh where
yeah,
Crosby got him
yeah,
fired, right? Because he was harassing Fleury, and then Crosby went to the GM and the owner and said, "Get rid of this fucking guy," and
yeah.
they did, right? So
Oh my
won the
god,
cup that year.
that's right. It's true. They
Yeah,
did.
buddy.
They
Yeah,
did.
buddy.
Yeah, it's true. He got yeah. It's funny. Like
Yeah,
the next day, they brought in Dan Belsma the next season, and
yes,
that's
sir.
funny. I remember we had those comments to the league saying, "I think we're trying to be the worst defense in the league." I remember that. That was one of those like clips you'd see on YouTube.
Yep.
Michel Therrien, like I don't know. I know. Some players used to love playing for him, and then there was those that like you saw on Weezy's show, they used to talk about like um, how they'd tell certain players that maybe they shouldn't be hanging around PK so much and so on, and it. I don't know. It's just something wasn't right there, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I kind of I really feel bad about how PK was treated in that entire those last 2 years. I would say is where he was treated very poorly. you know, from like the, you know, they weren't very happy about him making those donations to the hospital, it seemed. And then, you know, shortly after he made that contribution, or that commitment, that's shortly after he got traded. And it was just, you know, I feel like they didn't like the brand that PK Subban was putting out. They wanted PK Subban to be the Montreal Canadiens brand, and I think they didn't take too lightly to that. And
I
you know,
agree.
I think in a market like Montreal, like we were saying earlier, they might need to do things a little bit differently now.
Very
Like,
conservative, you know.
yeah, and I think what they need to do is take a step back, allow people to be themselves. Don't allow them to be these robotic figures who
Yeah, hockey
can't.
bots.
Yeah, and I'm starting to notice, like when Dale was talking about this on his show, it's like it's so true. Like players are so scared to talk to the media now because things get so blown out of proportion now.
Yeah.
Like they'll get misquoted, or they'll take their quote and spin it to sound like something else. And you know, there's always reporters trying to dig up some kind of news story, and you know, it's the team doesn't need crap like that, you know, like just
Yeah.
let the players be themselves, you know. Like I would love to see, a Brendan Gallagher is great with the media. We already know that.
Yeah.
Galley's one of the good personalities in the game, but Galley also plays it pretty safe for the most part. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
say the wrong things or anything like that, but he's a very likable guy in the media. I would love to see Shea Weber be the Shea Weber his teammates say he is, like a little more of that. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
All we ever see is this very straight, serious
This
face on
guy
Shea
with that
Weber,
big beard of his. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, Shea Weber. I mean, when I met Shea Weber at the Blood Drive,
Mhm.
featured on the Habs Instagram story that day with Shea Weber, and oddly enough, Shea Weber is actually smiling in the with his
Yeah.
teeth and everything in the picture, so you don't see that very often.
That's amazing.
Um, and you know, I would just love to see this more. Like just guys be themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that, but the NHL is like again too conservative with
With it.
that, you know. Um, you know, I would love to see more guys like PK Subban, guys who can celebrate. Like hearing guys talk like John Tavares and you
Same
know,
fucking cliche,
it's
like, oh
it's
yeah, just
just they're all monotone. I just it's too boring. That's boring. You know,
yeah.
the NHL has to stop being so conservative. They need personalities. I'm not saying like get guys who are dicks and assholes and whatever. Just guys who can be
Have fun.
themselves and like have fun. You know, that's what hockey's supposed to be about. That's why it's supposed to be the funnest game in the world. You know, and I mean, I just think we're lacking a lot of it. And you
Yeah.
know, I look at a lot of fans too. A lot of fans around the NHL say, "Oh, Carey Price, he's lost the love of hockey. Just listen to the way he talks." I'm like, Carey Price has always talked this way. Carey Price is just a very humble guy. Don't like basically the thing is, don't mistake his humbleness for not giving a shit, because that's not at all what it is. Even the few times that I got to meet Carey Price, he talked the same way to me as he talked in the interviews. Like he's just he's just a socially awkward guy.
Yeah, he's just
And
quiet. Yeah.
very
Even
nice
I
guy.
met him too.
He's
He's the
very
same
he's
way I
not
met him.
he's not a bad guy at all. He's super like the
Oh,
way he was with my daughter when we met him, he was fantastic with her. It was absolutely nothing, you know, there was nothing that told me, oh, Carey Price, he's just a dull individual. Yeah, he's just a very quiet guy, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, he's
yeah.
just a little more, just maybe
Laid
just a little
back.
more,
Yeah.
yeah, laid back. Yeah. But you know, I would love to see more out of guys like Corey Perry. Perry looks like he'd be a funny guy.
Oh God,
Uh,
yeah. He seems like he can have a good time in the room, and
oh yeah, like
yeah.
Josh Anderson too. Like you can tell these guys. That's the thing. Look at this core group of guys that we have. You can tell everybody believes in each other in that group, and
Mhm.
it's nice to see. It is so nice to see, and the culture that team has right now. getting away from the being yourself and all that stuff. But like the actual culture, the actual leadership culture is so strong.
It is.
Young guys are stepping up. When was the last time we saw a young core group of guys the Habs have to actually step up the way that this group is right now? Like, I can't remember a group like this. Usually it took, like, anytime we had any type of leadership in our group, it's usually from the higher, like the more of the veteran guys, and then the younger guys just kind of do what they're told.
And they build kind of those leadership skills like along the way.
Yeah. But you look, Suzuki's bringing his own type of leadership. Like everybody's bringing some kind of element of leadership in that group, and it's great to see. Because when everybody buys into a system, you're going to see a lot more success on the ice too. You can tell that team is gelling so well together. One thing we didn't talk about, and this is an unfortunate event. Ryan Poehling, season-ending wrist surgery.
That would hurt for me to see.
That was so unfortunate because I was really hoping we would see him possibly like in the playoffs, possibly as if we needed him, because he could fill in at the center position, no problem. Depending on what our lineup looks like, he can fill in at the wing too. That was very unfortunate because us Habs fans would love to see him put another 4 goals on the Leafs, but no, the likelihood of that happening is not happening. But
even he said that he's like, that's not going to probably happen again for a while. Just chill
out. No, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the Montreal Canadiens are in good shape. I think they are, and they are definitely between 2 windows right now, between the youth window and the Carey Price, Shea Weber, Jeff Petrie, that group of people. So they're kind of in that in between where they can win right now if they want. If they want to, they do. Obviously, they do want to, but they are in a good position right now because they are in a very good position right now because you have your future goaltender right now in Caden Primo. They're in a very good position right now. Where if you can win a cup in the next year or 2 with Carey Price can retire a happy guy because that's his goal. He said He said it time and time again. His goal is to win a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens, and I think I love hearing that because as I was telling you last night, I grew up loving Patrick Waugh, but Patrick Waugh left town, and you got to give it to Carey Price. He's stuck around longer than any other goaltender in Montreal Canadiens history. And fun fact, though, when Patrick Waugh left Montreal, he was the highest paid goalie in the NHL. Just saying.
Carey Price is the highest paid goalie right now. So
yeah. But Carey has stuck around. And, despite, at the time too, as well, there was no salary cap, but in fairness, Carey has stuck around despite dealing with all the crap he's dealt with. And, that's why I respect him so much, is because he's put up with so much from the fans, so much from the media.
Yeah.
Even when his wife had Millie, their second daughter, they were shitting on him, saying he's faking an injury to be with his wife while she has a baby. Who comes up with this crap?
I remember that.
It just happened to be a pure coincidence that he had an injury and then she happened to deliver. It was just pure crap. It's just even if he was healthy, guess what? He would have missed time to go be with his daughter.
Yeah, like any person would do, right?
It's an element where people need to realize there's personal and there's your job, right? I'm sorry, I'm I'm not going to be saying, honey, sorry, I'm going to go to work while you're delivering our child. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, no. I mean, if I was ever in that situation too, you got to be there.
Hockey comes second.
Yeah, unless it's kind of hard though, because some guys, they're on the road and it happens. I've heard that scenario. That's hard. That's different, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can understand too if the baby is coming in the next several days, you get a little more of a head start. If your doctor saying, hey, 2 or 3 days now. She'll
Yeah.
be here. At least you
Yeah.
get a little bit more of a, a
Get
little more
prepared.
preparation. Yeah. So, but I think the mistreatment that Carrie's gotten from our fan base and media is really been
Not
so
fair.
crappy.
Not fair.
It's not been he takes so much blame for things, and what people seem to realize was the Carey Price we had when he was so elite, and many were saying best goalie in the world. Look what we had in front of him. Like we like Mark Bergevin blew up that core that could have won you a Stanley Cup. There was some really, like, that year that he fired Carrier and brought in Julian. They had a good team, but then trading for guys like Steve Ott and Dwight
Dwight
King
King,
and
Andres Martinson. Like, you know what, Justin? My biggest thing with Bergevin, and I talked about this on Twitter with some fans, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I'm telling you, 2015 was the year, was the year Bergevin should have really gotten really creative and aggressive at the deadline that year and acquired some top six talent, because that was Price's peak season
Yep.
when he cleaned up
Now,
at the award show, right?
I
They would
have
have won that year. They had a better scoring
I
team.
have one little rebuttal on the
That's okay.
2015.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say it's so much of a rebuttal. It's just more of what did happen. He did go and get Vanek, which nobody, that was
Oh no,
just
that was the year before.
blindsided. That was totally, like, no one saw that
Yeah.
happening. I think it was like a buzzer beater too, that he got Vanek. Like, Montreal
Yeah.
Canadiens get Thomas Vanek for I remember what the actual second round pick.
Yeah.
When you look at that, that's just, it's incredible. And Vanek was decent in the regular season. He did okay in the playoffs. I think he disappeared more so in the
Rangers series.
the Rangers series. He was virtually not there. But I agree with you on that. He maybe could have made a move or two and got maybe an extra piece in there, and maybe you never know what could have happened, right? Like, and maybe maybe we just needed another goalie in our lineup too. Like, if Therrien wasn't being very supportive of Budai, maybe you could have went out and got like another dependable guy to fill the net.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's a lot of question marks. Like, we had that was such a good squad, like we had Chucky, we had Gallagher, we had Prost, like we had everything that lined up for basketball. Rene Bourque was fantastic that series, like that entire playoffs.
Man, there's one thing too. If I was Bergevin, and I remember I was telling my brother this, and I'm like, if he doesn't do this, it's gonna bite him in the ass. Was, again, Bork played fantastic, as you remember. They should have tried shopping him at the draft, because his value is so high as it is, and he was not gonna play that good anymore. That was just, again, he was hot, and then that was it. Some team would have been crazy enough to give up a second or a first rounder for him, and then the next season starts and he's in Hamilton within the first month and a half and traded off to Anaheim for Brian Allen. I'm like,
Brian Allen, oh my god.
You remember him?
Oh my god, Brian Allen. Didn't Brian Allen wear 22?
No, he stole Frankie B's number. He stole 55.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of Paul Mara. Paul Mara wore 22.
Paul Mara. He was okay. I like Paul
Mara.
Mara.
He was a depth defenseman, right?
Serviceable player.
He reminded me of Hal Gill a little bit, like that veteran presence. There's been a lot of players, like those journeyman players who just kind of have come through Montreal, and it's like, oh yeah, that guy used to play for the Habs, Jaros Boschek.
He was okay.
he was a funny personality, where he's like, he dropped the gloves once, and he got just his ass kicked, and they asked him, are you ever gonna do that? And he's like, no, I'm gonna run away like a sissy girl, is what he said.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
It was just like, oh man. And he we had a lot of good players in that like 5-6 year window, Camilleri and oh man, that's another one that got away, Mike Camilleri.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually we traded him for Bork.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But Cammy was just, man, he was a game changer. Remember in that playoff series with Yarrow Halak, he was just on fire. He was leading the league in goals. You know, oh, that's another one too, that got away from us. It's always the Flyers. What is with the Philadelphia Flyers knocking the Habs out of the playoffs?
Dude, it's been like 3 times from my memory. 2008, 2010, and then last year.
It's always the Flyers. And it's not like the Flyers, when they beat us, are playing great hockey. It's just we end up beating ourselves. We're usually like outplaying them, and we're just not capitalizing. And we got beat on these really stupid bounces. I remember there was one particular goal Yarrow Halak allowed in that series, and it felt like it was the changing point in the series. There's one where he came out to kind of try and play the puck.
Yeah, Mike Richards took it.
Yeah, it was just a complete botch. And I think that's completely where the series just took a complete turn, really.
Yeah, that was, I think so too. I remember like my brother and I were watching that game, and I just looked at him. I was like, yeah, I think they're fucked. Just
the black magic ran out.
Yeah, that was the moment. Legit the moment when it ran out. Yeah.
And I remember they tried putting Price in net in that like in the Washington series, because they were down 2-1, I think. Yeah, they were down 2-1 in that series. So Jacques Martin tries to pull a wild card and put Carey Price in, and I remember Carey Price did not play well that game.
Do you remember when he shot the puck at the Capitals players?
Yes, I remember that. Oh man, but it's crazy to me when you look at some of these highlight goals that have happened in players' careers, and the goalie they're scoring on is like Carey Price. Like for instance, the Alexander Ovechkin one where he's just bursting down the wing, and he just blows by Josh George's. I think Josh George's ends up getting like turned inside out and like spins and falls, and Ovechkin comes in, one hand on the stick, and just, oh man.
Yeah,
that was Price's like sophomore year or something, but still, oh man. But let's not also forget, the highlight reel saves that he makes as well.
Oh, yeah. And he's robbed Ovechkin before too, so there you go.
But yeah, that blocker save there at the end of regulation a couple of years ago. Oh man, that was I make dreams of making that save one day.
Well, buddy, you definitely will. 100%.
Oh man. Oh
yeah, buddy.
So yeah, I was I actually wanted to share a story there of my days working at the Bell Center here.
Yeah, please do.
So yeah. So I used to do food prep and waitering and concession stands and serving people their beer. So pretty much I pretty much did a little bit of everything. So when I finally applied for a post, my posting, I ended up becoming a waiter in the lodge boxes. So the cool thing with the lodge boxes is you basically you deliver the food and serve it to the private box that's that's ordering the food or whatever. And you get to see some interesting people, some celebrities. I've seen the Prime Minister, being in attendance at a game because they're doing a presentation for a Habs loony or a stamp or something, like a stamp collection. And then sometimes you'll come across, girlfriends or wives of players from the other team. So, you know where I'm going with this. So,
yes, I do.
I'm working on the so I'm delivering food to George Gillette's the former owner of the Habs box. George, really nice guy. I'll get to that after. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, the Habs are playing the Ottawa Senators, and the Ottawa Senators had a player by the name of Mike Comrie on the team. And hockey fans probably know this already, but Mike Comrie is married to Hillary Duff. So I remember delivering food, and Hillary Duff is just kind of standing like just outside George Gillette's, um, like just outside his box, like the entrance to his box. And she's kind of almost like in a fetal position, having a tantrum on the floor. I don't know what she was pissed off about. I don't know if she was pissed off that she couldn't order a certain type of food or cake or type of alcoholic beverage, but she was going full on Karen. And I just remember George Gillette being as nice as George Gillette was, just kind of like down at her level and just like had his hand on her back and was like, basically like it's okay, and he was basically like consoling her or whatever. And I'm like, man, like what the hell? And of course, like her makeup's running down her face, and it's just I don't know what was going on, but it was just like, why the hell is Hillary Duff having a tantrum? Like, it's just
dude,
no.
that's amazing.
But yeah, this probably happened roughly in around 2009. But it was one of the memories I had working there. But going back to George Gillette. So George Gillette, former owner of the Habs prior to Jeff Molson. So George was such a good owner. So anytime George crossed paths with any of his employees, he always took the time to say hello and ask them how they're doing every single time. And the staff members actually, like, they felt when George was around, because like he was just a very happy guy. And and when you work for an organization like that, like the Habs or whatever, it's always, you never know what you're going to get when you work for a guy that's is high like that's a rich owner like that. You never know what person they're going to be. But the nicest man, honestly, one of the nicest people I got the pleasure of getting to meet working there. And occasionally, I would get on the elevator with Bob Gainey and Yuppie. And also, like, you'd also like deliver and serve food to like the alumni, which was really cool. I got to see a pocket rocket. You see Jean Beliveau sometimes. You get to help all these people. And Ray Jean Wool is the one who runs the Alumni Association for the Habs. He's also such a nice guy as well. He was always a good tipper too. So he'd tip on every single order. It's and that's a great thing about Ray Jean Wool is he's a good man. And there was always this one thing that I always wanted to ask Ray Jean Wool, and I always wanted to ask Ray Jean Wool what the offers on the table for Patrick Waugh were, because there were rumors of Marty Brodeur for Patrick Waugh 1-for-1. There was rumors of Mike Vernon or Chris Osgood for Waugh to go to Detroit. I think you mentioned to me Chicago is offering
Belfour,
but ultimately we went with Jocelyn Thibault and Andrei Kovalenko.
Oh, that stings.
Along with Waugh was Mike Keane. Don't remind me.
Mike. Mike Keane.
Mike Keane went to Colorado, so he was our captain at the time.
He was good.
And then, Keane was a scrappy guy. Keane was kind of like a Dale Weiss type player, right? Like just a guy that did everything. So Keane went to Colorado with Waugh, and of course, won the cup with Waugh. And basically, So going back to Ray Jean Wool, so yeah, very very nice man. And then of course, like I said, the guy always tipped. And then you get places like the Casino de Montreal, who orders enough food to feed a third world country, would never ever tip their servers ever. And I'm telling you, they'd be ordering all night, and we'd be losing our tips for other places that would be ordering food, because we'd be constantly delivering food to them. And it was just one of those like, oh great, I'm bringing food to the Montreal Casino Lodge. Great.
Montreal Casino. That's come on, man.
Right? It's just, come on, man. Oh, I know. But there was a lot of good people that worked in that building, and then then there was some that were not so nice, but
Yeah.
we can talk about that another time.
Oh, I want to hear the story, the one you told me yesterday about the spatula. You gotta
Okay,
tell that story.
so
That's oh, dude.
so uh man, so working at the Bell Center, there's a very, mind you, I don't know how it is now, but there's a very limited amount of Anglophone speaking employees in that building. I was one of the few. I was bilingual, so I spoke French. Um, so of course, this is before I was doing the waitering thing. I was doing food prep and so on, and I was working on the grill with the Montreal Canadiens' world famous hot dogs, of course, and with me, basically it's like a two-station two-station grill, right? You have your grill for your hot dogs, and then you have your grill for the buns. So I was managing the hot dogs or whatever, and then so basically what they do is they toast the buns with those clam grills, and then basically they throw the buns on on there, and you basically all by hand put the hot dogs in the buns or whatever. So one of my supervisor at the time, I was communicating in English with one of my colleagues who was he was bilingual. He also he was also Italian. So we were talking about football, and we were talking about like the Eagles and Cowboys or whatever, and their rivals or whatever. And so anyway, my supervisor, because he had his spatula laying on his on the grill or whatever, and that grill gets really hot. So he basically takes that spatula and puts it right up against my arm, and he says, "We're in Quebec. We speak French here."
That is, dude, that is so
And
fucked.
and then of course, like I had some instances with other people as well when I was talking with my colleague. Like, we still conversed in our own like our primary language or whatever, and we'd occasionally get, like, the occasional employee will say, "Hey, on est au Québec, on parle en français," and it's like he's basically telling me like there's no English in Quebec, you got to speak French, and it's just it's just one of those things where I was like, I I didn't know what to say to that. Like I'm in the minority here. I don't know what to say because like I'm surrounded by people whose French is their primary language. What am I supposed to tell them? Like,
Yeah,
like at the time I didn't know exactly how to stand up for myself on that. It's just one of those, that was very wrong.
yeah, for sure.
Like, what's it to them that I'm speaking my primary language, right? And I mean, to this day, I've learned to, like, it's water under the bridge now, but like that's pretty much the only experience that I really had working there where it was like negative, right? Other than that, it was a great place to work. I got to witness the NHL draft. We got to see John Tavares get drafted, Mr. Boring.
Yeah,
Victor Hedman. We got to see Victor Hedman. We got to see Evander Kane. Who else was in that draft? Matt Duchene. Yeah, you were saying that yesterday.
O'Reilly.
There was O'Reilly. There was a lot of good players. And then when it came to the Montreal Canadiens selection, 22nd overall, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I could be wrong on the selection. You hear the crowd just go up in an uproar and start chanting the name Louis. And
I remember that.
The Habs make the selection of Louis LeBlanc from, was it Kirkland? I think it was from Kirkland.
So. Yeah.
Or I think it was Kirkland. So I feel as though like that at that point in time, Louis LeBlanc was the Cole Caulfield that the Habs were hoping for at that time. The hype that kid had was through the roof, but he didn't really have the credentials like Cole Caulfield does. He didn't have the all those goals in the NCAA. And if memory serves me right, Louis LeBlanc did play in the NCAA.
He played with Harvard, yeah.
Played with Harvard, yeah. So I don't know. I think he was just overhyped mostly because of he's Montreal born and raised, hometown kid. But look at the guys who are drafted after Louis LeBlanc, and look where Louis LeBlanc is now. They're
He's
saying Ryan
retired.
O'Reilly. Yeah, exactly. The kid's younger than me. Jeez. So I mean, it's that was kind of the cool thing about working at the Bell Center, even the
Yeah.
All-Star game too. Right? Like I'm coming into work, and in the main concourse, you see the Stanley Cup, the Hart Trophy, the Vezina Trophy. You see every possible award down there, and you're just in complete awe because you're like, wow, I work here, and all this stuff is here right now, and it's funny too because I recall, like, we were in the Bell Center. On any other night, you have Molson advertising everywhere in the Bell Center. Not for the All-Star game. For the All-Star game, the main sponsor at that time, I believe, was Bud Light. So seeing the Bell Center with full of Bud Light sponsorship just felt so wrong on every level. It honestly felt like we were watching a game in the States. That's what it felt like. That's exactly what it felt like. And it was cool though, because they had, like, I don't know if you remember the All-Star game, the how it was painted in the middle. It's like Match des Étoiles in the middle, and it was actually really nice. I remember when working at that, I remember seeing Guy Lafleur there, and he was sharing a box with Sidney Crosby. Unfortunately, I didn't get to serve them anything, but I saw them from a distance, and I thought that was kind of cool. Sidney didn't play in that game. I don't know if he was injured or just opted not to play in that game, but I remember seeing him there. It was pretty cool. But it's definitely a job that it takes a lot of patience, right, and a lot of good time management skill too, because when things are on in that building, it's a big rush. I'm telling you, especially when you're serving beer at the counter. Oh my God, you learn how to pour beer like perfectly without the foam on top or anything. You learn that very quickly, and basically people order, like, 8-9 beers at a time, and it's just literally just one after the other. And when you're done with one, and then you're just popping on all the. You're just popping on all the lids, and I just spilled some water. That's okay.
Oh shit.
Hold on. That's okay. Yeah, I'll clean that up after. It just spilled on the dog's bed, so it's okay. But I'm telling you, you have to be very, very quick with it, and because you want people to be able to get their stuff and then get back to their seat and not miss the game. Now, the cool thing with working there, they kind of cut down a little bit on it afterwards, but the cool thing about when I started working there is when you go for your break, you actually got to witness some of the hockey games going on, right? So I was fortunate enough to work at that 5-0 comeback behind win against the Rangers, where they were giving out these banners that were from Renault Depot, the home renovation store, that just basically said "Go Habs Go" on it. And I remember we were down 5-0. Mike Komisarek takes a stupid penalty, and of course, you hear the Bell Center just
they're loud
and pissed off. Right at that point, people are already getting out of their seats to leave, and I'm looking straight out. I'm not on break at this point, but I look out, like, through the tunnel where you go towards your seat. I just see these Go Habs Go signs just flying towards the ice, and you hear Michel Lacroix say, make an announcement saying, please refrain from throwing any objects on the ice, or there will be a 2-minute penalty assessed to Montreal. So of course,
everyone stops.
Fans they don't want them to be short-handed, right? So shortly after that, I go on break. I start watching the game. We're down 5-0. Michael Ryder comes in. He basically has comes down the middle, fires the puck, scores shortly after, scores again. So that's kind of got the ball rolling with that. Then, basically you can feel a buzz happening right in the air. And I got to go back to work. So I had to go back to work and I had to go back to work, and I had to pretty much do the final intermission and then close up. So when we closed up, there was still about 5 minutes left in the third period of that game, and the game is all tied up at 5. And I'm telling you, like, the building was electric. And I'm telling you, the people who left, because there was a lot of empty seats when it was 5-0, those people left, definitely regretted it.
Yeah, right? Did they ever?
I'm always a firm believer, if I'm paying for a hockey ticket, like if I'm going to a Habs game, I'm sitting there from the first second of the game till the final buzzer, no matter what the score is, because I'm there to support them. And I can't stand these people who get these tickets who are sitting in the Reds and are will leave if they're showing any signs of playing poorly. It drives me nuts.
It's a waste of money.
It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of the possibility of somebody being in that seat that would appreciate being there.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's kind of the things I hate about the corporate seating and all that is like some of these people get these tickets aren't really hockey fans. They're just
suits.
They're just suits, exactly.
Yeah,
they don't know
just
what's
like when you go to the ACC or the Scotiabank Center, now they call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm telling you, it's before
Same
all
thing,
the COVID. Yeah, dude, it's all suits.
It's up top where you see all the real fans, and I'll tell you, it's funny, eh? So whenever I would work concessions in the lower bowl, like in the Reds, the people that tip down there, the suits, barely anything, barely. So how they would do the tips at the Bell Center, because technically speaking, we weren't considered a facility that accepted tips, but we still accepted them. It's just considered we didn't technically do. But the Reds, you barely got anything. But how we divided our tips was we would take all the money at the end of the night and split it up evenly amongst everybody you were working with in that station. So it was fair because you got people working in the back prepping pizza and all the other stuff. And then you get the people who are doing the cash or doing the beer and all that. So everybody got their fair share of the tips. So working down in the Reds, you'd average about $25 to $30 in tips a night. Then you go upstairs to the nosebleeds. You get between 100 and 150 a night.
Jesus.
So
it's the rich guys that are the cheap fucks, eh?
Pretty much.
Fucking hell.
And then when you work at the Desjardins section where the free food is, tips aren't bad, but they're not great. But you don't have to handle any money really. So that's kind of it's kind of expected, right? Like if you're not actually going to be handling money, you're not going to really get anybody to give you their change, right? So,
yeah.
But and that was, it was kind of the cool thing about working in the Bell Center is you got to work in every different station possible in that building, right? So you kind of got to experience all different parts, right? So I remember you said you mentioned you've seen a game in the Bell Center.
Yes, I actually have. So,
do you know where UPville is in the Bell Center? It's like you go down. It's like in a lower level, right by ice level, practically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was literally sitting in like the very last like corner of the Bell Center. Like not the corner, the very last row. I was literally in the very last row of the arena, but
so
yeah, I recognize
when you're on the main level, there's an area where it dips down. There's like a restaurant there, and then there's UPville there, and there's some concession stands. So there was a playoff series against Boston where Kovalev scored the game-winning goal with his helmet off, I think it was.
Oh, I remember that goal. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember in the playoffs when you're working at the Bell Center, you cannot leave until overtime is over.
Oh yeah.
So basically, it just means you're serving food and alcohol all night until the game is over. In the regular season, it's until the second intermission is done, and then you're basically closing up. So it's very different in the playoffs because you got to think playoffs is all money.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, if the longer the game, exactly, right? It's 100% profit, right, for tickets and all that stuff, right? So I remember working that game, and we're all wondering, like, geez, when's the game gonna be over? And then we heard Kobe score the goal, and the whole place went up in an uproar. And it's funny, like when you're finishing work on when the Habs win, it's just on such a big high, and when they lose, it's just you really feel the energy gets sucked out of the building, and
it's quiet.
Oh man, but I will say this. I've been in the Bell Center at some of its loudest, but man, there's an event that I worked at that I would say, hold on, is my phone going off? I don't know. But anyway,
that's okay.
There's an event that I worked at that probably equaled, or if not, was louder than a hockey game. So I got to work the very first UFC fight in Montreal with George St. Pierre and Matt Serra. And I'm telling you, when George St. Pierre came out, that place was shaking. Like, it was so loud. The fans screaming and yelling and cheering. It was just, it drowned out George St. Pierre's horrible French rap music. I'm telling you, his rap music was terrible. I mean, not my thing, but I could not hear any of it because it was so loud. And when he won in the second round, if I recall, man, it was as loud as I've ever heard that building, if not louder.
Fuck,
it was so different. But you got to think, there's floor seats. You have every single seat in there is filled up, so you got that extra little bit of capacity in there to for people, right? So at least you're probably looking at 25,000 people in there, at least.
Fuck,
right?
That's insane.
And you have people coming in from all over the place, right? All over the world to see this. So these people are pretty hardcore. And that was kind of the cool thing, right? As working in the Bell Center, you get to work at concerts and all these different events other than hockey too, right? And it was definitely a privilege to work there. I mean, it was not like I applied there and I got the job. It was just one of those. I just sent in my resume. They called me and told me to come in, and I thought I was getting interviewed, and they told me that, can you work this day or whatever, and it was just one of those, like, they just gave me a job.
That's awesome. It created a lot of memories, though, and for a lifetime, man. For a lifetime.
Even the ability to go out and skate on that ice was fantastic too. Every year the Habs are very very big on customer service. So every year they hire a bunch of these mystery shoppers. If you ever worked in retail, a lot of the time, the organizations will hire these mystery shoppers to get an idea, make sure the employees are doing their jobs. So at the end of every single year, the Habs host a party for their staff who basically served a mystery customer and scored 100% on the score. So in that party, you get to skate for a couple hours. There's an all you can eat, all you can drink. And for myself, I didn't trust me. I ate, I had one beer, and I skated the entire time because it was just something I didn't want to waste, right? It was just an opportunity of a lifetime for me to do that. And it was during the centennial season too, right, where it had the 100 written in the middle there. And
that's right.
I did some video of it, and like I even got to stand in the hallway where they, like right outside the benches where they come out. And of course, I'm pretending to be like my NHL, be a pro. I'm standing there. I have my camera taking a video of my point of view, and I skate on the ice. It was just, oh man, I'll have to share that with you. It's
Oh, dude, yes, please. I want to see that. Telling you
and
that.
it was such a fun experience, and it was unfortunate I had to leave because of my full-time job at the time. My schedule had changed, and they needed me to work till midnight, so of course that couldn't work with working at
Conflicted with the Habs, yeah.
so. But you know, it was a good experience nonetheless. So
Oh, absolutely, buddy. That's like, dude, those are. I'm telling you, have you told your kids any of these stories, or
well,
are your
my
kids too young
daughter,
yet?
my son's too young to really like know.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I mean, my daughter, I don't know if she really understands that I've worked there before, but she's she's turning into a little fan herself.
Oh, that's good.
She's got her fair amount of players that she loves and admires. Carrie's one of them, especially with the encounter she had with him, and she loves Gally. That's one player she wants to meet really badly is Gally. She's no, she has not met Thomas Tatar, but Thomas Tatar has seen some of her videos before. So because I posted
Yeah,
them,
you were showing me.
I posted one to Twitter a couple of years ago where she was doing the Thomas Tata, and I tagged him on Twitter, and he saw it. So,
That's awesome.
that was pretty cool. So, yeah, it was actually it was kind of funny though, because like I when I met Tatar, I told him about the video because I didn't post it to Twitter, and he's like, "Oh, just post it to Twitter and tag me, I'll see it." I said I really want to see it, so I did, and he saw it, and I thought it was kind of cool. So,
That is really.
and then she still loves Max Domi, especially with what Max Domi did for her. This because I shared this with you yesterday, but
Cool.
Max Domi's last tweet as a Montreal Canadian came on October 5th of 2020. And so I sent out this mass tweet to the basically all our favorite players, just saying, "Hey, can you guys send my daughter a happy birthday wish? Because I think it would really make her day, and she's asked for that." And so I did, and October 5th comes around, and I get a notification on my phone that Max Domi has wished my daughter a happy birthday. And so she comes home from school. She gets off the bus. I'm like, "Honey, you won't believe what happened." She's like, "Well, what happened?" I'm like, "Max Domi wished you a happy birthday." She's like, "What? Really? Let me see." So I show her, and then unfortunately, the very next day, Max Domi gets traded to Columbus for
Josh
our
Anderson.
workhorse, Josh Anderson. So as you can imagine, my daughter gets off the bus from school the next day. I'm like, "Honey, I got some bad news." She's like, "What, Daddy? What's wrong?" I'm like, "Max Domi got traded." She's like, "What? Like PK?" I'm like,
Oh, oh,
I'm
that's so
like,
sad.
"Oh my god!" So, she was kind of upset that he got traded, but she still loves him.
Yeah,
And the funny thing too is like when I ask her who her favorite players are, she always say Max Domi. She's like, "But he doesn't play on the Habs anymore." I'm like, "Honey, it's okay. You can
that's
still
okay though.
Max Domi. Max Domi loved being a Hab, and that's all you can, you know."
Yeah.
And that's the thing I love about Max is like that's what Max was, right? He was a proud player of our team, right? So
Wore his heart on his sleeve all the time.
exactly, right? And that's what you wanted from him, right? And I'm really glad that he gave her that tweet out, right? I thought that was really classy of him to do that. Not a lot of players take that time to do that, right? And it's just that those small little gestures can go a long way for kids that age and just people in general, right? People look up to them.
Yeah, I have a story too about kind of something similar to that. So,
Yeah.
with Weiss actually with Weiser, Weissy, it was last March. It was when this pandemic started,
Yeah. Was it when he
and
was doing the thing where he's putting the helmet on?
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I was watching those.
oh yeah, yeah, buddy, and So I was going through some tough times last year with like a lot of things in my life were just not going well, and then I remember I messaged him. Just sometimes you just send him a DM, and maybe he replies, maybe he doesn't, right? I saw he
Yep.
engages with the fans a lot, so I was like, I'll give it a shot, right? And like I was telling him, I was like, yeah, like I was explaining my situation, and he actually like took the time to like talk to me. Like I was at work at the time, and like it was like a 5-10 minute conversation. He just told me keep my head up, and like I just look back at it now, and it's just like, yeah, like I can
Makes a difference.
fondly, yeah, like it made me so happy. Like it made my day. I was like, thank you so much. Like it's just how much they care. Like and like
Oh
again,
yeah,
your daughter too. Just a
100,
little bit like that,
100%.
man. Like yeah,
Oh,
man.
100%.
Yeah, buddy. It's just I that's the one thing I love about athletes though. Like I find that compared to other public figures, I think they give back to their communities a lot,
Oh,
and a lot
100%.
more of like a lot more, and just
Yep.
a lot of public figures just do it just to look like virtuous and to look good, but these guys and girls too, like they genuinely care like
Yep.
about their fans, right? And I
Oh yeah.
really like that. I really like that.
And,
You
and
know,
and I know in like in a city like Montreal too, it's difficult for players to you know engage with everybody, and we know that, right?
it is
It's
hard.
impossible. But when they do, I'm telling you, it's rewarding as a fan itself. Like I don't know how many times I've tweeted at PK Subban for different whatever, but just the other day, I posted my workspace of like my huge, I'll share here, my huge
Ooh,
PK Subban NHL 19 poster, and
I
then
like that.
I've got I don't know if you can see it
Yep,
there.
the jersey there. Yeah. Okay.
And then on top of that, I got the signed puck, I got the plush, I got the McFarlane figurine, and the PK Subban pop figure for with the Devils. And then with that is the blue hat that was his personal hat with the
Ooh.
PKS initials on the back. So I shared
Oh,
that on Twitter. It's
how
not
did
his
you?
personal hat. It's just
Oh,
basically it was basically like a limited edition one that was the PK Subban hat
oh, okay,
that you can
okay.
buy at Lids. And I remember that hat was expensive. And basically, I shared that on Twitter, and he ended up liking it. And all of a sudden, the next day, I just have all these likes on Twitter for that post that I
That's
posted.
amazing,
It's just like
dude. That's fucking crazy.
that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And Brendan Gallagher, like one of my tweets that I tweeted out of to him from my daughter, actually saying like how much she misses hockey and how much she can't wait for it to come back. And this is just before the bubble started. We knew we were going to be playing the Penguins, but it not started yet. But he ended up liking it like the beginning of the season that's right now. So
That's
it's like, well, I
amazing.
mean, better late than never.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's awesome, man. I love that stuff. Like, yeah, when they interact with like the fans like that, and
Oh
it's cool. And when you show them stuff like that, like it's not just like like their management team, like a lot of some
yeah.
of the players like their management team like handles their accounts, but I can tell a lot of them like Gallagher, Subban, like they handle their own. And
Oh
they
yeah.
look at that and it like hits home for them. They're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
this guy like really appreciates what I do, right? And then they
Yeah.
like it. It's like, yeah, like you know what I
Oh,
mean? Yeah,
100%.
man. Yeah, man. Yeah, buddy.
100%.
Yeah,
I
buddy.
I don't know if you did you see when did you see that one of the new items I have in my cave?
I did not. What was it? Or what is it?
I've got a Dale Weiss game used stick in my cave.
Oh, I think you showed me
You see
that.
that?
Yeah, I think you showed
Oh
me
yeah.
that.
So I
Yeah, yeah.
found that on Tricolor Spal, the team store. They still have at least one left, and it
Ooh.
was like $150.
Oh,
It's a nice
damn.
stick. It's a nice stick. It's a right-handed
Yeah.
stick too. Um, they also had like Lekanen stick. They had Houdon stick. They had a Mete stick on there, a Wallet. Basically, like those were all the remaining players on there, and a Deneau stick. The
Oh,
Deneau stick was like $200. But I'm only using the Wii Stick as a display thing. So I'm hoping eventually one day, if I ever cross paths with Weiser, that I can get him to sign the stick for me and a puck
Oh,
I have here. So um, hopefully. And
yeah, that'd be awesome, eh?
I'm all about too is like I don't sell any of my stuff. Like I don't sell any of my autograph apparel or anything like that. I keep all that stuff. And it's a big part of who I am, right? Like the hockey stuff has always been about, a big part of my life. There's I'll have to dig it up, but there's a story I'll share with you here. What happened with my aunt once? She was in labor. This is in 1995. She's in Lakeshore Hospital in Montreal, actually in labor for my cousin, who's a goalie, by the way. And suddenly, in comes through the door is Patrick Waugh. Patrick Waugh.
Way.
Apparently, he was in there like for kids or whatever. And in comes Patrick Waugh, and my uncle's like, "Hey, can you send a piece of paper for my nephew?" And so anyway, I still have that autograph to this day. It just says to Justin Bunchhouse, Patrick Waugh. It's on a loose leaf piece of paper, and I have it in like those page protector things. So,
dude, that's pretty dope.
Kind of cool, yeah. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but like growing up, I used to write to my favorite players growing up, and crazy enough, I usually used to get something back in the mail. So I've written to Patrick Waugh. I've gotten stuff back. Like I've gotten a signed card from Patrick Waugh back.
Oh wow.
I've written to Felix Potvin from when he was in Toronto. I love Felix Potvin. He was so good. His gear, his setup was so nice looking.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Looking like, actually, I don't know if you saw David Riddick's gear for the Leafs.
Yeah, it is pretty hard. Yeah.
Oh man, it is a pure tribute to Felix Potvin with the cat scratches on the pads. Oh my god, they're beautiful. So Felix actually had a letter sent back to me with an autographed 5x7.
Oh wow.
And it's an actual, like, it's not like one of those printed ones. It was done with an actual like permanent marker, because you can tell with the way that it shines on the picture paper, and you can also kind of see a little bit of a fingerprint smudge on there from the ink. I've also wrote to Marty Brodeur. I also got like an autograph back from Marty as well.
Ooh.
I'll have to dig that out. That's like in one of my storage things with my hockey cards. And he wrote back a letter. Unfortunately, that letter got eaten up by one of my old dogs.
Oh no.
Yeah, we had this dog, and this dog, whenever we used to go out, she used to get into everything. So at one point, she got into some of my hockey cards and ate them.
Oh, that hurts.
One of those things that she ate was the Marty Brodeur letter and the Felix Potvin letter. Luckily, none of the autographs got destroyed. Luckily.
Okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. So, but it's just awesome to say like, hey, this is some stuff that I've collected or whatever. But I had a friend of mine too. I still I grew up with. He used to send his hockey cards out to all these guys, right? And he used to get them back, and they'd always be autographed. And I just thought that was just a really it was just really cool of him to do that. I mean, he would get them back right of fan mail, but the fact that these guys do that for their fans is just it's awesome.
They're busy guys too. Like they don't like the fact that they take time out of their day to like do that, or time out of the week even, right? Because they probably spend like a day.
And then the one thing that grinds my gears, I'm gonna sound like Peter Griffin here. is so I don't know if you ever noticed, if you're looking Facebook. Sorry?
It's just doing the Peter Griffin voice. Yo, really freaking grinds my gears.
So one thing that actually grinds my gears here is like I'll be on Facebook Marketplace, for instance, and you'll see people selling their autograph stuff, right? So there's these two guys here in Kingston that do this, right? They'll go to they'll go hang out at like arenas and stuff, and they'll basically push kids aside or whatever for players' autographs, and they'll be there with like these ginormous boards with cards and pictures and getting them to sign it all. And then what they do is they take a picture with the player to make it look like, say, hey, I met this player, so it's an authentic autograph, so I can sell it for this much money. And it's just disgusting. Sorry?
No way. Like, yeah, there's people that do that. Hey, they just collect the autographs to sell them.
Oh, and the worst thing is these guys, what they do is they'll go on those Chinese knockoff sites and they'll buy jerseys, right? And then get these players to sign it. But it's like, why? I don't even want an autograph knockoff jersey, to be honest with you. They're not even nice looking.
There's no value in it too.
There's zero value in it. Yeah. And that's one of the things I can't stand. And like, it's funny, because my neighbor actually knows these two guys, and I have a Ryan Paling autograph card that was from Tim Hortons. So my neighbor got it done for me because he got to. My neighbor was at the game at a game in Belleville between the Senators and the Rocket, and Ryan Paling was there. Mm-hmm. His buddy, the guy who sells all these autograph things, he had about like probably a dozen of these Ryan Paling cards and pictures or whatever. And Ryan Paling's like, "What's your name?" So he tells him, "Oh, my name's Jody." So he's like, "To Jody," on each one, right? So he knows what he's doing with it because he sees them every single game, right? It gets to the point where the players know what they're doing, right? So they're like, yeah. "I'm gonna, what? This is what you're doing, so this is what I'm gonna do." So luckily for me, I mean, on my Ryan Paling card, there's no like personalization on it or anything. It's just his autograph on it or whatever. But it was just it's good on Ryan Paling to do that because it's not fair to him. Why is this bozo who probably lives in his mom's basement, selling,
making money off his back, right?
Exactly, making money off of this guy's signature. I get people selling some autograph apparel or whatever because they have no use for it anymore or whatever. But guys who are constantly listing things like the same thing over and over and over again is just, it's disgusting.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I should probably ask Dale about that. I'm curious what he would say about that.
It's a good question for him.
I really, it's something I despise. I think for myself, if I'm getting a hockey, like, somebody that I look up to or I admire to sign something for me, that's a, that's like a token of appreciation, really. Like it's something special that you hold on to, right? Like it's, I don't know. I can't stand these fake hockey fans like that. It drives me nuts. Mm-hmm.
I've kept all my collectibles, like all my signatures. Like, I'm never gonna sell those. Those are just I've met Thornton, Shanahan, Niedermeyer. Niedermeyer signed he had his World Junior card. He signed that for me. Shanahan, he signed a card for when he was on the Rangers, like one of those game breaker upper deck cards.
Oh my god, yeah.
Joe Thornton signed my McDonald's card. Yo, do you remember in 06, 07, that season, they had those star sticks? And Tim Hortons got them last. So when I met Thornton when I was about 10, 11 years old, and I met him somewhere in Toronto, and I brought one of those. And I asked him to sign it, right? He signed my card and he signed the stick. And I'll show you that after. Actually, I'll DM you a picture of that. And so my dad, my brother, three of us were there, and my dad was like, "Hey Joe, have you seen these before? Like, this is some, like, my son got this, right?" And he laughed. He's like, "Oh yeah, my mom's got one of these." And then we all just started laughing and like, yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, Joe's no, he's a character, that guy.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
I
Like he looks like a fun guy. Like, did you see that tribute to Patrick Marleau?
Yeah, he's just
Where
got his
Austin
fucking
Matthews,
out.
he's naked. He comes out naked. He's got the blur there. It's just like, oh my
And
god.
they knew he was there too, and they just look back awkwardly, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
No.
Just give
Oh
zero
man.
fucks. I love it, buddy. I love it. No, that's
Oh man.
and I
That,
want to. Sorry, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
yeah, okay, these are the type of like personalities you want to see, you know, coming out, right?
That
It's
and like
good to
what
see.
Yeah, man. And like what Weiser was saying on one of his episodes too. Like, there's so many good personalities like that in the game of
Yep,
hockey. It's just they don't allow them to be like that. They don't,
yep.
like I said, they don't allow them to be themselves. And the problem, like I have, is like I keep on here, and I've said this on Twitter too. Like, it's just so frustrating. I hate when people in hockey say, "Grow the game." Let's grow the game. They're
Not
not
growing.
growing the game. They're not growing the game by letting these guys continue to be hockey bots. Like, it's not. You're not growing anything. Like,
No.
you know what I mean?
We're gonna see too
Yeah.
many guys that are like Jonathan Tays. I mean, all respect Jonathan Tays. He's a fantastic hockey player, but he's too boring.
Yeah.
He's too boring. It's just it's too politically correct.
yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's programmed, and I don't know. It's
Hockey
too
bots, I call them.
boring. John Tavares, he's boring too.
Sean
Yeah, like
He's another one.
no, like the game just needs more guys who are just just seems excited to play the game. You know, it seems to me they just don't. I don't know, just the level of energy they bring to these interviews and stuff. It's boring, you know. But
Yeah.
remember, so I saw this on Twitter the other day, and it was in kind of like to say, hey, you know, it was for Jonathan Drouin. It was that post of him after he got named first star of a game, and he started getting emotional when the fans were cheering for him. And I thought to myself, this is how it should be for every, you know, this is how he's showing his emotion like that. It's just, it shows what it means to him to be there, you know?
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I love it when guys show emotion like that, you know, and again, the game doesn't have enough of that. I think these emotions is really like, you know, when you have a guy like Patrick Marleau who broke the all-time games record play, you see him get emotional, you know, guys hoist the cup, but like you don't see a whole lot of it. And I think you see guys like, you know, Ryan O'Reilly, he's another personality you'd love to see out there more. You know,
Yeah. Like,
Hockey Night in Canada, like this guy's a legend.
I'm telling you,
and
dude, man.
oh,
Yeah.
I think hockey just needs to really take a step forward here and just grow the game. Grow your game by your marketing your players and who they are. Is the NFL's big on marketing guys. Like look
Oh
at
God, yeah. The
Aaron Rodgers,
divas and
Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady. These guys all have great personalities, great social media personalities. Like before Brady was on the Bucks, I was not a really big Brady fan, but like his social, like now that he's on the Bucks, I've been following more, and his social media game on Instagram and Twitter is hilarious.
yeah, he's great. He is.
And then you get the Aaron Rodgers with his State Farm, like you know the Rogers rate and.
And then you got like Mahomes on with all those commercials. Like, yeah,
Oh
like I'm
God, he's
telling you,
like
man.
hair.
Like,
And you just need more like that. But
you need that.
you also can't allow guys to get out of line either, right? You got to make sure that, you know, guys are themselves, but not crossing a line where they get themselves in trouble.
Oh no,
look at the
for sure.
NFL has a lot of those. Where
It's a
it's
very good
like,
point. Yeah, where
you
like
you
sometimes
want
they
guys to be themselves, but you don't want them to cross any like legal lines where
yeah
it involves strip clubs and firearms and you know
and
things that we've seen in the
bad
Montreal
stuff.
scene before. The
Yeah,
Kistitsins.
yeah. Oh, do you remember that back then?
I
Dude,
do. Oh man, the
Kovalev was not the same after because
after
he
they
was
left.
involved too. They were all not the same, dude.
No,
Uh,
Kovalev. I know Kovalev said that if he could go back in time, he would have not signed in Ottawa. He would have wanted to stay in Montreal.
He said he regretted it. Yeah.
Because who wants to play in Ottawa? Seriously, Ottawa's. I was talking to my wife about this the other day, watching the game against Ottawa. No disrespect to the Ottawa Senators, but the market there is so boring. Like the arena's boring, the arena announcer's boring. The type of game they play is so boring. They're like everything about the Ottawa Senators is just boring.
Yeah.
And again, it's no disrespect to the actual players. Like I think their next 2 years is going to be electrifying. It's just I just can't stand watching that team. It's just again like even going to watch a game there, watching the Habs play there. It's just the music, the play in the arena, the lighting, everything about it is just boring.
Yeah, well, then you wonder why Melnick says and does like fucked up shit because again everything else is boring, so he's got to make it entertaining somehow, right?
Oh yeah, the circus of Melnick, right?
Oh,
But I don't know. It's Ottawa. Again, I think Ottawa is going to be a really, really dangerous team in the next couple of years. So
I agree.
I think we're going to start seeing the name Brady Tkachuk coming up a lot more. As much as a Habs fan that I hate the guy, he's a great hockey player. He's phenomenal. Yo, he's so good at what he does with his tank the tank.
I'm telling you, he's one of those guys that you hate so much, but you would take him on your team any day.
Oh, 100%.
I totally would take him on my team any day. I'll admit it.
100%.
Despise him, but if they sign, like if the Habs announced they signed him, I'd be celebrating. I'm not gonna lie.
This is exactly the same thing as Corey Perry, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Corey Perry on any other team, you hate him because of what the pest he is. But the moment he's on your team, he's the hero, right? It's kind of like, again, I would totally welcome a Nazem Kadri on the team, 100%. Again, he's one of those guys that he's a good hockey player. You just hate playing against him. But I think he learned his lesson from his mistakes in Toronto in the playoffs, taking those bad penalties, because he did phenomenal for Colorado last year. And
the playoffs too. He was amazing.
That's what I mean. You saw a lot of Toronto fans become these sudden Colorado Avalanche fans for that little bit of time when the Leafs were eliminated and the Avalanche were still in. And that's the thing too, is it's so hard. You can't hate on the Colorado Avalanche. You really can't.
No, they're
just so good. And hey, speaking of the Avalanche, boy, do I've got this interesting thing to tell you. So I have a buddy of mine that I play ball hockey with, and he is now a hockey analyst directly, like basically assistant to Joe Sakic now. Ooh. So he has a lot to do with he has a lot to say to Joe when it comes to making a trade or trading a player away. So he backs his data up, like backs his suggestions up with a lot of data. And so my buddy of mine who I'm working on my show with was telling me, like, he ended up doing a year or two of free work of just studying the game and the stats and everything, and eventually got so good at it that he landed a job with the Avalanche. And so he reports to Joe Sakic. So I thought that was kind of a cool.
He's like an advisor.
Yeah. So he's his official title is a hockey analyst, but he's an advisor. So
that's so cool.
So I actually got to cut this short.
Oh,
it looks like my little wait. So, but it's been a pleasure.
Hey, Justin, thanks for coming on.
I'm getting notified by the wife, like, hey.
Oh shit. No problem, buddy. No, you gotta do what you gotta do. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll definitely come on again if you'd like. Just give me a shout for sure, buddy.
No worries, man. We'll shoot the shit when the when playoffs are coming around, and we'll make some predictions on matchups.
Absolutely, buddy. Man. I'm all for it. All right, Justin. Have a good night, buddy.
All right, you too. Hey, go Habs go. Eh?
Yes, sir. Go Habs go. Ciao. All right. thanks again, guys, for joining us. That was a good show. Justin's fantastic. I love listening to him talk about his hockey stories. I can just sit there all night and listen because he's got uh, so many stories. Man, oh man, he's working at the Bell Center, um, meeting countless players. With him and I were talking last night. We had like a little pre-show, I guess you say, mingle. And man, oh man, it's just the amount of players he told me he's met and people he's met in hockey and uh yeah, no, it's fantastic. No, Justin, man, you're a beauty, bud. Definitely want to have you on again. So thanks guys again for joining us today. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel here. This was a great show. I enjoyed this. This was one of the better ones. Oh my god, my voice cracked there. Anyways, getting late there, guys. I'll yeah, see you guys soon. And this don't forget to like and subscribe. Project 24, and thanks for joining us. We are signing off.